Horror Movie Podcast, episode number 170. 7 days?
Woo!
70.
7 days.
Yes. Dude, brain
With a
fog.
D.
No joke.
7 days.
Brain fog is no fucking joke. I'm telling you.
Eric took this little kerfuffle with Brandon to a new extreme. He just kicked him right off the show and decided to join us today.
Actually, I am Brandon. I just shaved my head and gained 75 pounds.
No, see what happens when I declare?
You declared a war.
Happens?
You declared a feud, and apparently I won.
Look at this. All it took. One episode. B isn't here, and Eric Webster is, ladies and gentlemen. So, I don't know. Maybe it call me crazy, you know?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, it's...
Does he need an introduction?
Talking about it. Yeah, he needs an introduction. Everybody does. I mean, yeah, Eric Webster, a member of a long-running show, Dark Discussions podcast, and Askin City, and is there another one too now at this point?
Oh my God, I have a podcasting problem. There's the Dark Discussions, there's the Askin City podcast, there's we do a Westworld podcast, which may or may not come back depending on the show, called Bullets, Brothels, and Bots. We have a other podcast called Cinema a la Carte, and I have a YouTube channel called Eric's Movie Corner. But other than that, I got nothing going on.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
That's a lot.
Wait a minute. I didn't know about this YouTube thing. How did I not know about this YouTube thing?
Oh, I've watched a couple of the videos. I like it.
Thank you.
I thought I've seen everybody's YouTube. No, wait a minute. So you do a regular YouTube? Like
not as regular as I'd like because of all the other stuff going on. But yeah, it's called Eric's Movie Corner. I've got 30 some odd videos out at this point, just little movie reviews I do, usually between 10 to 15 minutes long.
And he usually ends it with, and remember to keep the aisle seats free.
No, I use the same background I got going on right now on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look, that's why I say you
YouTube channel.
Keep the aisle seats free.
I can't even keep my own shit straight.
Whew. Oh my gosh. So B, he's not really kicked off. He's just under the weather right now. And
I hope they do that.
Luckily, Eric just happened, because I'm telling you, we found this out yesterday officially. We weren't sure what was going to happen. Then we talked, we were talking in the afternoon. It was like, I don't know, 3, 4 o'clock or something. And then all of a sudden, we're on the scramble. Not that we can't do it ourselves, but we said, hey, this is an opportunity. Let's see if we can get a third guest host. And I probably sent off about like freaking 10 simultaneous messages to people, thinking maybe if we're lucky, somebody can bite, because you're like, yeah, you got to watch 3 movies and be up tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to record. I'm like, maybe somebody out there will have time.
Maybe somebody crazy enough.
Yeah.
Well, everybody we know is crazy.
And he watched the movies. Is prepared, been up for hours. And
the funny thing is,
kicked in.
One of the movies that we're going to be talking about today, I had seen recently. So I was prepared to skip that one and just watch the other 2. So I did last night. But then I was just telling you guys before we started recording, like every once in a while, this happens. 4 a.m. this morning, bink, my eyes open. I'm awake. I'm not going back to sleep. Might as well get up and watch the other movie.
So,
yeah, what else you doing? Right.
Thoroughly prepared.
Indeed.
I think he's more prepared than you are, Dave.
He probably is. I mean, here's the funny thing. I watched Witchfinder General myself for the first time, just like, I don't know, last month or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely had to watch it over to take notes, because it was my first time watch too, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was one of the few horror movies I watched in my off time, besides all that fun I was having doing all that other stuff I was doing, those non-horror watches.
Oddly enough, Witchfinder General, I swear I watched that on Shudder in
Me too.
January.
I did. We did.
It's not on Shudder anymore. It wasn't there this morning when I went to look for it.
It happened to me too.
I watched it on Shudder. It's called The Conqueror Worm.
Oh, they put it under another title?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. I was going to crack a Conqueror Worm joke at some point.
Okay.
So it just happened to fit in there.
Is that why you were late for the call this morning? You were conquering your worm?
Yeah. For the 5th time. Yeah. It won.
What a weird title, though.
That is a weird title.
Yeah.
Why?
What
does it have to do with?
I know.
Well, and that was the U.S. title, too. Like it was Witchfinder General in the UK, and then in the States they released it as Conqueror of the. I'm like, what? How does that even relate to the movie? That makes no sense.
Yeah, I want someone to tell me how that relates to the movie, because I remember seeing that poster and title, and thinking it was like, I just assumed it was like, them or the giant ant movies or something like that. I didn't know anything more about it. I didn't realize that it was really just Mark of the Devil. Before Mark of the Devil came out. Like, we watched Mark of the Devil for the 70s show we did on 22 Shots, and I swear these two movies are practically identical, just Mark of the Devil shows way more torture.
Okay. I haven't seen it, so I'll have to catch up with that one.
Dave, Mark of the Devil was literally like a more violent version of this movie.
Yes, it is. It definitely is. And then there's the other one that came out that year, which was called it ended up being Brandon's number one that year, or Mark of the what the hell was the other? There was another one. It dealt with the same things. Oh man, what was that? Now I gotta find it. But in the meantime, I looked something up about the title, and maybe I know why they called it Conqueror Worm, or they didn't call it Witchfinder General, because they might have thought what I used to think before I watched it. For years, I avoided watching this movie because when I heard the title, now I didn't know anything about it. I just heard the title, Witchfinder General. I thought it sounded like a soap opera, like General Hospital. I'm telling you.
You never know how Dave's mind works. It's like General Hospital.
Yeah, Witchfinder General. Because they were.
Now I want to see that soap opera, Witchfinder General Hospital.
Right. The crossover. Witchfinder General Hospital.
That would be great, huh? Shit. Half the people are in there for freaking, they're accused of being witches. This happened to them. You know what I mean? That'd be great. No, but they do call things, like out here we have a hospital and they call it Buffalo General. Mm-hmm. They just call them something general. So I heard Witchfinder General, so I always pictured something that took place at a hospital, or that it was like a TV show, and they'd be saying, last week on Witchfinder General. You know what I mean?
By the way, just let me ask you. I was trying to figure out what is there a theme for this show? Because Vincent Price is in all these movies. Wait, no, he's in only two of them. Wait, maybe it's Christopher. No, wait, he's only in two of them. So is there a theme or?
The theme is we didn't actually really introduce the show well at all because we got right into the jokes and the fact that you're here. This was a Ram Man spectacular.
Yes.
Okay. So Ram Man had this. I gave it to us last year, but just based on how the shows were going to be, we were like, "Hey, are you cool? It's going to be probably episode 169 or 170 at that time," and then it ended up falling on 170. So this is a 3-pack of films by Ram Man.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
So that's it now. Our slate is clean. We have nothing. No obligations for trilogy.
Just like my Conqueror Worm. Clean as a whistle.
Oh man.
Well, sorry. I'm glad it's clean.
Yeah.
I gotta find out the name of this movie. I'm sorry. This is gonna bother me. This Mark of the
Clearly.
It really is. But what was I gonna say? I had to look it up. General Hospital came to the masses in 1963. So I think there's something to what I'm thinking here.
So it was out before Witchfinder General.
Yes. So that's what I think. They don't want to call it Witchfinder General because they think people are going to look at it and think it was a soap opera maybe. So they said, let's call it something else.
I think that might just be you, Dave.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I wanted to say that, but I'm glad you took the lead there, Eric. Thank you.
Oh, Witch Hammer. The name of that movie is Witch Hammer from 1970.
Witch Hammer.
Yes. Witch Hammer. It just was released I think it was just released on that box set.
The folk horror?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it finally came.
The Hammer one that everybody bought because it was on for a sweet discount, and then they
first day buy.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Get on.
Are you a first day buy, day one buy type person, Eric? No.
Well, it depends on what it is. If it's something I'm really excited about, maybe I've pre-ordered a bunch of the Scream Factory remasters, but generally no.
Yeah.
Do you collect much at all or no? It's just
I mean, I don't consider myself a collector, but I've got 300 some odd movies on shelf.
Yeah.
So
to
That's like
normies,
me.
if that's
to
collecting,
normies, you're
then
a
yes.
collector.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Look at go to your work and ask people at your job how many they own, and they
Nah, that's
probably,
a good
yeah.
To
point.
Dave Parker, you're just a regular asshole. But to normies, Dave Parker, I think it's like a labyrinth to get to his recording studio. Like through his he has like slink his way through to get to like his podcasting realm. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like anyway.
He's up there. I cannot. I have a dick on my shoulder, and it's freaking bugging me,
What?
and I can't stop him. Yeah. See,
Well,
I
is it
gotta take a
clean?
picture of it. I gotta take a picture.
Brush
so
it
you guys
off.
can see.
Brush
Is it
it
clean?
off.
Have you conquered it?
I'm telling you, this is ridiculous.
I got a dick on my shoulder.
Well, it's bugging the hell out of me. Hold on.
I don't
gotta
even
get
know
a
what
good
that
picture of it.
means.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Okay. My microphone, because I can't see you guys in the other view, and I'm in this together mode view, little things come in and out of it. So anytime I lean too close to my mic, it comes up. And the way this looks, it looks like a dick and balls. Hold on, I gotta show you
Okay.
guys. I'm telling you.
I got a
Makes more
dick on
sense
my
now.
shoulder.
That was a.
Oh yeah.
Tell me, it's a dick and balls right there.
My
Oh,
God.
that's
I wish
awesome.
that was my dick. Not on your shoulder. Just
Yeah. Keep
Put
taking
my
it, Christian.
dick on your
Keep taking it.
shoulder.
It's a Paul Anka special. Rest my dick on your shoulder. Why is there Weird Al come up with that song?
I know. Right? There should be a guy. Well, there used to be a guy like that, John Volpe, but he didn't really do like songs on that type of song. He would just make up his own. You guys heard of John Volpe or no?
No.
No, well, I heard of the other lounge guy. Who's the other lounge guy that made
Richard
that did like a
Cheese?
yes, that did like Rape Me. He did all the
Kurt
he did a
Cobain?
ton of covers.
For the Dawn of the Dead remake. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a ton of covers, but he sings them lounge style. Which if you've heard the Rape Me cover, he opens it with, and here's one for the ladies, which was a horrible way to introduce the song,
I
but
personally like his lounge cover of Welcome to the Jungle.
yeah. So I don't
gotta
know, is
hear
he anything like that? Like he's lounge? He's
No.
lounge, but covers-
John Volpe, he's probably a local guy because all the kids out here used to talk about him. And the parents would have cassettes and stuff. And I think he has something out here. He had like some corn maze that people. So he had something. So he must just be local. I just wasn't sure. But I thought maybe Christian, being so close, may have heard of him. But he was real dirty. Like his songs would be like, oh man, it's not coming to me yet because my brain's not really awake yet. After the coffee, it'll
Brain
come
fog.
to me. Yeah, it is. It's in brain fog. It's no joke. It's shit. But something will come to me later. But he just sang like songs that we all know. You know, like classic songs. Like I don't fucking whatever. Like Strangers in the Night. He did a thing about like Strangers in the Night and shit like that. But I can't even tell you that song because it's a racist one.
Gotcha.
So a couple of them were racist. It was a different time. It was that kind of a So yeah, like a couple random. Most of it was sex. Most of it was dirty. Fuck. They call them Dr. Dirty. So it was kind of like a Two Live Crew type thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
But he would do like old fashioned songs and put a spin on them with freaking with curse words and fucking stuff like that. So. So that was it, John Volpe. But damn,
I don't know
someone
how
should do
it
it
came
now.
up. I don't know why this made me think of your story made me think of this, but we're having a discussion at a work meeting this past week, and someone brought up rap or whatever. I don't know what it was, and they said, "Oh, well, we'll go old school with DMX." I said, "Old school? DMX old school?" I'm like, "Old school, Schooly D," and everybody looked at me like I had like two fucking heads on. Like, who the hell is Schooly D? And I'm like, well, that's old school rap to me. Like, I'm talking like 80s rap. DMX was like at the end of the 90s, turn of the century. Turn of the century. I love using that term. We're talking about 2000. At the turn of the century.
We can refer to the turn of the century.
Holy fuck.
But it's true. I don't know why I got
is.
an echo there.
Well, that's not old school. You're right. Like literally right now, and I've watched it before, but when I'm having the guys over on Friday night, I'm going through this show again. It's called Hip Hop Evolution. Now, keep in mind, in 1983, I'm 11 years old, You know what I mean? In '84 was when I really got into it. Like the first album I bought was Run DMC's first album. So I came in slightly late. Run DMC it had been around a couple years, mostly in New York and stuff like that. But you had Grandmaster Flash and all that stuff before, and you had Kaz, and you had Africa Bambaataa. You had different things going on, which I became aware of it as I became a rap guy. But so we're seeing the evolution from like the end of the '70s up into, and it keeps going. But like the first 4 or 5 episodes are all about the old school stuff. So we're watching that stuff now because I knew they'd appreciate it. My brother was young. I mean, he was born in '79, but
what is this documentary? I want to watch this. I love that stuff.
Yeah. Hip Hop Evolution.
Evolution.
It's on Netflix.
That's a perfect title for it. Oh, well, I'll check that out for sure. That's the stuff I love because I got into it. Like again, I feel like I was a year or two behind you, and it was always when we were comparing those albums that were inspirational or whatever it may be. It was always the album that followed. My inspirational album was the one that followed the one that you pick as your inspirational album from that same artist, which was funny because mine would have been Raising Hell from Run DMC and Power from Ice-T.
Oh, and I was on the come up for all those bands. So I'm with you. Like I Run DMC's first, and then their second, King of Rock, was fucking my favorite. Then Raising Hell. But right, yeah. And I had Rhyme Pays when it came out. That was 1987. Ice-T's first album. So I was there, and it's weird. We were talking about it, how cool it was. We're watching these videos and we're seeing the people in the crowd in New York City and how great that would be to see the birth of rap. But we were still lucky enough to see it come up and rise to the way it was. Now we don't really like it, but it's just weird to see it. But there is one thing that we were discussing this the other day, and I said there is one thing that we in our generation saw that we saw the whole lifespan of it, the birth, the peak, and the death of it, and that is the shopping mall. Because I was born in '72. Malls came around in like '77. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, it's not dead yet, but it's
on its way.
It is on its way. But if you think about that, there really isn't anything else that was like a major long-lasting thing that I've experienced. Like VHS would have had like a 15-year run. I mean, things do come and go, but shopping malls come in. I remember like in Dawn of the Dead. They were still new at the time because he says, "Oh, that's one of those new shopping malls or something." He says, Yeah.
What are those?
And now,
but VHS was like, probably a 20-year span, really, or more. They probably will say it's a 25-year span but when it became more commercially available to like the death, because what was a death in like 2002, 2003?
Shortly after.
I don't know. I hear there's still people out there that collect those.
We don't talk about those people on the show, Eric.
I've just heard, around that,
No, actually,
some people like to apparently sniff them as well.
Yeah. I'm okay with the sniffers. I'm okay with the collectors. I want to rephrase that because it's literally probably 10 assholes out there that I can't stand. And you know what the problem is?
Assholes?
No, but there's a ton of other assholes. There's more assholes, but in the VHS collecting world, and where I'm going with it though is the funny part. It is I probably would be fine with them had I been that part of that group, and this stupid ass podcast came in and started making fun of that collecting group. I would have been like, "Fuck you guys," and I would have rallied up with the troops. So I get it, but we don't bring them up in the show, Eric, because you see what it does to me. Again, like vein is popping out of my forehead.
I declare a feud between Christian and the VHS collectors.
There it is. Now you can do it. Declare feuds. Imagine that. It'd be that easy.
Declare feud.
Well, I mean, presidents do it all the time. Heads of nations do it. I'm going to declare a feud between this country and this one. And sure enough, it happens. So John Volpe, speaking of presidents, he's still around. I looked him up. We got these YouTube videos, the Corona song from 2020 and Everybody Hates Trump from 2016. So he's still doing stuff. He had an Obamacare song in 2013. He got all kinds of shit.
Everybody.
Yeah, thank God I'm a pubic hair. That was one of his songs. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Candy bar
poem. A lyric genius. This guy used to write for the Beatles.
But he came around in 75, and he's still doing shit, man.
I used to be a pubic hair. I wish I was a pubic hair. Either way, I used to be, or I wish.
No,
why?
Thank God I'm a pubic hair. Probably like thank God I'm a country boy or something. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Did you do one about that barbecue stain on my white T-shirt? Are you a country fan, Eric? We should have asked a few questions leading in. Okay. Were you a rap fan back in the day? Were you a rap fan? Like, did you ever have a rap phase?
Not really. I mean, Licensed to Ill, when that album came out, I listened to it repeatedly. But other than that, I'm not much into the rap.
Yeah.
You're a metal guy or no?
Yeah, I'm a metal guy.
Yeah. I was in everything. I love rap. I love metal. So then, like, Beastie Boys to me was like perfect because like there's a couple of those songs. It just felt like a nice little mashup of the two.
No, I still listen to that album. That's just one of my favorite albums of all time.
It's a great album.
Yeah.
I listen to it at least once a year, but I listen to Paul's Boutique probably like 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Paul's Boutique is fucking. God,
yeah, a lot of people like Paul's Boutique more, but I don't know what it is. I really liked. Yeah, I really liked and I like the ones like Slow and Low.
Right? Yeah. Well, that's a Run DMC song. That song was written for Run DMC, and you could tell it was supposed to be performed by them by the way the rap style is. And of course, at the same time, they had all that going on. They had Russell Simmons doing the stuff, and then by that time, and they had what's his name Rick. You know, so they had Rush management going on. They had it all going on. So they had Rick Rubin and they had Russell Simmons together. So they did a lot of the same stuff. But there's actually, you can listen to it now if you have iTunes, which I think you do, Christian, right? If you go to, I want to say it's either the B-Boys extended. It's probably not. It's probably if you go like Raising Hell. Run DMC, the extended. That's what I love about iTunes, by the way. They have all these old albums, and then they have the extended versions, and they have like 20 extra tracks, and they have live, and they have outtakes, and they have alternate versions. But there's a Run DMC one where you can actually hear Run DMC doing Slow and Low, and all they did was change one line, and one line was White Castle fries only come in one size. That was originally something about glasses and eyes, because D always talked about his glasses and stuff.
My glasses.
So all they
Eric beat us to the punch.
Yeah, brilliant. See, we picked the right guy. He knows.
I don't like how quick he is. He's off the show.
Oh shit.
But man.
Eric.
Are you? Eric, sorry. You go. You ask your question first. D.
Okay. And I know you're going to have a question for him, but okay, here's a couple. First of all, how long has it been since Dark Discussions has been around?
Oh, good Lord. We started in 2011.
Wow.
How about that shit? How many
you're like you're OGs.
Well, we're second Gs. The 3 core hosts of the show, myself, Phil, and Mike, were all inspired by a podcast I don't know if you're familiar with, but it was called the Horror Etc. podcast.
I know what that is. Yep.
Phil and Mike actually met on the message board on their website. And Phil and I met while we were both trying to pitch our respective podcasts on the Horror Etc. Facebook page, just trying to figure out if they were cool with that or not. And that's how I got involved with it. And shoot, you guys are making jokes about episode 500. We've passed episode 500. And yeah, you will want to kill each other by the time you get there.
On that note, Phil or Mike, who do you kill? If you had to kill one of them right now, who is it?
I don't know, man. It's tough. It depends on the day. Because like there's some days when Phil's okay and I want to kill Mike and vice versa. So it depends on the day.
Taylor Swift, is it a healthy obsession or is it borderline
nothing healthy about it? It's a very unhealthy obsession. Yeah, he's gone to her house.
You got
it's a problem.
He has not.
Imagine that he's talking.
Please tell me you're kidding. He's not kidding.
No,
why would he make this up?
I'm not kidding. He's been to her house. I mean, it's like a mansion and there's a gate and it's not like he can get in without getting arrested, but he went.
But still, I don't want to get myself, but normal people don't do that.
Well, it depends, People go to Stephen King's house all the time.
I was just going to say that. I thought that. Yep. People do that.
You know what? I shouldn't say anything. I went to fucking the camp, that Crystal Lake. I went to the Friday the 13th camp at Blairstown.
It all depends on what.
Who am I to say anything? Yeah. Although there's no lineup and there was no mansion and it wasn't creepy. Like, you know what? To be honest, I was creeping up to the camp because you're not allowed in there. So who am I to say I'm just as creepy?
See, well, but hold on though. See, we have these obsessions to our stuff. Is Phil's obsession musical and sexual, or do you think he doesn't think of her that way?
Probably both.
Okay.
Did he clean his conqueror worm at the gates? Is what we want to know.
I wasn't there. I can't say.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Is there a black light that they run in front of those gates? Like, that's what I would do. I'd have security running a black light. And like, I want samples of that, taken to a lab.
No, but the thing is, going on a podcast for so long, I mean, I'm sure you guys got this going on already too, but it's like family, right? You go through a lot of shit together. You know, you really care about the other people that are involved, but sometimes you want to kill each other. So
I think that goes without saying. Like I think we have all been very amicable on the show together, but I think behind the scenes, there's probably a time where I pissed Dave off, you know, or whatever. But it never's long lasting. It's just more like, I think we pissed Dave off at the year-end show one time when he thought we were making, it wasn't really directed at him. It was the way he was describing everything was funny in a good way. But I think we kept cutting him off that he finally just said, enough. You don't let me get a word in edgewise or whatever. And I know that came from the heart because I feel like that sometimes too, or I haven't articulated myself right. Or again, I'll say something wrong. Dave says we picked on him last show with this. We'll say something just wrong, whether it be cinematography or whatever, and then bam.
Right. Yeah. It's like a bunch of vultures.
But that's
so it's like that kind of thing, you know.
Family.
You know, they're good friends of mine. I love them, but some days, man, some days there are days where you're gonna want to walk away.
Yeah.
This is
what show are you at?
I don't think I've stated this publicly before, but I almost stopped doing the show around episode 400.
Wow.
Because at that point I had lost a lot of enthusiasm for it. I had a lot of other stuff going on in my life. And I almost did it, but I felt if I was going to do it, I owed it to them to do it in person. And then when we all gathered in Mystic to get together, I couldn't do it. Once I was there facing them face to face, which I swore to myself I was going to do, I couldn't go through with it. So I'm still going.
You'll hear it now.
He's still trying to get out.
Yeah. The last 150 episodes have been, he's not been there. He hasn't been wanting to be part of it. That's what I heard from the conversation. That's what I took from that.
There are days when I don't want to do it. I'm sure there are days when you guys don't want to do it either. It's to be consistent and keep going. You got to do it on the days that you don't want to do it. So that's what it is.
And, you know, we're making jokes and we do it with everybody that'll come on the show. We're poking fun at it. I mean, congratulations. It's awesome. Yeah, what is the official number show you're at now?
Oh,
you said you surpassed
520 something, I think.
Yeah, man, oh man.
And that's not including all the side shoots, the Westworld show, the show about this, the show about that are, know, they have all these other side shoots. So, and it's, in some cases, it's the same crew. It's at least members of the Dark Discussions.
Yeah, Mike, Phil, and I do the Cinema a la carte podcast, which actually started with an argument between Phil and myself. Because Phil is always just trying to do films he wants to talk about on Dark Discussions. So he's like, yeah, I want to do Mission Impossible. I was like, dude, that's not a Dark Discussions movie. What are you doing? And so our solution was to come up with this other podcast that we do semi-regularly, where we just cycle through me, Phil, and Mike, and each one of us because to choose a movie that's not a Dark Discussions movie to talk about on that show.
Yeah, to keep the core group happy.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. I sometimes want to talk about stuff that isn't like horror related, especially
like the solo cast you were doing, Dave.
Right, which
you know, it's
all I did.
Stuff like that, stuff we want to talk about that doesn't belong on the Dark Discussions show.
Right.
Yeah. So I think my last pick was a movie called The Edge. You guys ever see that with Alec Baldwin, Anthony Hopkins?
Yeah. Is that where is someone a serial killer? No, they're
Crash in the Wilderness.
That's what it was. Yeah. The wilderness one. Yeah.
There's a bear.
Yep.
You remember the bear?
Yeah. I remember that movie. Yeah. No, but in my mind, I remember a train in the movie too. Am I thinking of the right movie?
Train? No, that's
no. Then I'm thinking of a different movie. I do remember when that came out though, but I'm thinking of something else with a train in the wilderness and maybe Gooding Cuba Jr. was in it. I think
Gooding Cuba
was not
Cuba Gooding.
So, yeah, you're thinking of something else.
Again,
Cuba.
I rest my case, but that was stupid. Question, the usual question. Nightmare 2 or Rocky 4?
Rocky 4.
Did you see the director's cut?
I did see the director's cut.
What do you think of the director's cut?
For the most part, I prefer the original, with the exception of the robot. The robot's dumb. I was glad they got rid of the robot.
Admittedly, I like it as an alternative, but it just feels surreal to me because I'm so used to the original, and I love the pace of that original.
Right, and I swear they changed the montage in the director's cut. They split it into two, right? Was I imagining that, or did they do that?
I thought they always did that.
They always did it, but they still took different shots. It's almost like they felt obligated to make sure that they used different takes or whatever of the same shot. So I'm not saying that there's still the same footage in there. Of course there is, but they look like they went out of their way to even put stuff that didn't necessarily need to be put in, and just to say it's an alternative cut where they already had the dramatic stuff that could have.
So all they needed. I liked the director's cut. It was good. I just the nostalgia factor comes in for the original cut.
Absolutely, I'm right there with you. I watched the director's cut twice. I think I should try to do it a third time with my son, but then I'm like, let's just watch the original.
Man, I love the director's cut. It reminds me of the stuff I liked about as much as they can make it somewhat like the first three. It's still not like the first three in that respect, but they try. There's a little bit more emphasis on the drama and different things in it, which I enjoy because there's really, I talked about it on the solo cast. I finally figured out the issue I had with it is that literally nothing happens in that movie. The fight, okay, Apollo comes, I want to fight the Russian. The Russian's here. Okay, I'm going to fight the Russian. He gets killed by the Russian. Okay, now I got to go fight the Russian. That's it. There's no other, where the other movies had all that extra substance and there's more meat to it and more drama. Growth. Yes. Yeah. This movie, there's nothing. Now I'm going to go beat this guy. And then it's an hour of training and this and that. And then, okay,
beautiful.
Cool.
It's exactly everything you want in a Rocky movie.
but you prefer that to the drama and the build, the structure of the
movies. We have 3 other movies to lean back on for that. Now I want the trimmed. To me, the director's cut would be the original version. Boom, we're cutting, we're trimming the fat. The movie is the version of Stallone within the movie, trimmed right down, muscular, looking his best, like the Rambo 2, Rocky 4 era. That's when Rocky slimmed down, trimmed down, boom, and this movie's the version of that. I love it. It's edited.
I just watched. But I get it. I'm going to be doing a review on my YouTube channel soon of First Blood. I just watched that again recently, and man, that is a good movie. People forget that the Rambo series actually started with a really solid movie. It's not just all explosions.
Oh, I love that. Right. I love that first one. Again, because it's the wilderness. There's something about it that I just love, and I gravitate to movies that take place. That's why I feel like I have seen The Edge still, but I just love that setting, whether it be horror, whether it be action, just to be put into that setting and scenario. But yeah, great film. But again, it was the start of they used to make fun of those movies of saying these guys were indestructible and action heroes. And they hadn't even thought of a Fast and the Furious type film because those guys are Marvel characters compared to John Rambo in the First Blood movie. But because he jumped from a cliff and went through some trees and only ended up with a scratch here, and he stitches himself up, they said, oh, this guy's like a superhero. He's superhuman. I'm like, that's way more believable than what these people do in Fast and the Furious. And we're just watching I don't actually watch all of them, but when I did watch the first 4 of them, you're just kind of going, these guys can't die.
If you have the opportunity, do you own a recent copy of First Blood? There's a commentary with Sylvester Stallone that is actually one of the more interesting commentaries I've ever listened to. And he talks about that scene where he cuts himself like that. He actually he played a prank on the emergency room, and he went in with that makeup on, the cut in his arm and the thing he could squeeze in his armpit to make it bleed. So he went into the emergency room. He's like, yeah, I fell on an axe. I need some aspirin. Can I get some aspirin? Can I get some Tylenol? And he like squeezed it so it bled a little bit. And they're like, what is it? And he like took the Tylenol and walked back out of the emergency room.
Wow.
Gotta get some Tylenol, some aspirin. That's great. Such a great movie. I feel like he was nominated for a Raspberry Award for that because they said that you couldn't understand a word he said at the end when he's going on about the war and being forgotten.
Well, that's a BS complaint if I ever heard one.
Yeah, I love it. I love it too, but I remember.
It's a great scene.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack us onto Rambo.
No,
that's okay.
It's fine.
That's
it's got blood.
Yeah. But I love First Blood. Like I honestly, I think if First Blood would have been a standalone movie, people would look back more fondly on it now.
Yes.
They were like, oh, remember that movie Stallone, that First Blood movie? Don't you think?
Oh,
it just
yeah.
seems like it's an
a lot of the other
afterthought.
Rambo movies got dumb, but the first one is not.
Well, Rambo 3. I love Rambo First Blood Part 2, but it is all explosions. Like again, he did the Rocky 4 to it. It just is like it's just an action, but I love it. I love it. Rambo 3, not a fan of. I'll watch it, but I feel like it's a carbon copy of 2, just vastly inferior. But that one that he did in 2007, just Rambo or John Rambo,
it was
beautiful.
Fun.
Oh, it's amazing. And I actually like Last Blood too, even though, I've heard it being told that it's a Taken movie just with Stallone thrown in, and they call it a Rambo film.
It is, now that you mention it.
So I think it was Chris A.K.A. Scott used that. I think I'm getting the right person. I think he was the one that said it was like Taken, but with Rambo on it. But I still liked it. It was still thoroughly enjoyable. But he loved, because what I like about Sylvester Stallone is he's not afraid to showcase blood and have violence. Like he likes to show that, and I'm a fan of that. And whether it be in horror or whether it be in action films.
Did either of you read the book First Blood?
No. I didn't know there was one. Maybe if I watch the movie, it'll say
the original
based
movie
on
is
the
based
novel.
on the book, and the book is significantly different than the movie, so it's worth checking out.
Nice.
Yeah.
There are two main things from the movie immediately that are almost complete opposite in the book than they are in the movie. So yeah, you won't necessarily know what's coming if you read the book.
Nice.
Cool.
I might have to read that. Shit. Yeah. That's a good. I haven't seen that in a while. First Blood, but I mean, I own them all. Except Last Blood. I still haven't seen that one yet, but I have the others on Blue and everything else. So I really want to watch. I haven't seen Part 2 and Part 3. I saw them once. I wasn't into Part 2, and I like Part 3 even less. But even as a kid,
I grew up in Part 2, man. Part 2 is probably the action movie I watched the most as a kid until probably RoboCop and Platoon. I know Platoon's a weird one because it's not really, but I mean, those came out almost at the same time, and it seemed like Platoon, RoboCop, and Predator were on repeat.
Well, and I think the second one is mostly what people associate Rambo with when they think of Rambo. Like what Weird Al did in UHF, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I think of every time I think of Rambo. It's Weird Al doing that, and then just blowing up people, spitting bullets back at them.
Right.
Oh, I forgot to watch that. I was gonna watch it in my off time. I was so close. I was so close one day to doing it.
It still holds up, man. It holds up probably more to people, although I showed it to my son, who only had a passing knowledge of these films that they're talking. He's 10, but he saw it when he was probably 9 when we watched it, and he thought it was hilarious. He thought it was great.
Did he get all the references?
Well, no, he realized that because of the new Rambo movies, he realized, although I think he saw Last Blood, and that was fucking gory. I was like, oh God, what am I showing here?
Yes, that was very
There's a guy gets his throat ripped out. I'm not going to, there's one character gets his throat ripped. And it was like, but ultimately, so he knew that reference, he knew Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Oh, F. Gandhi. Gandhi 2.
That
I gotta watch this.
Makes me laugh every single time. And I don't think a lot of people get the funniest joke in that little Gandhi thing, which is when he's at the restaurant, he says, "I'll have a steak, medium rare."
Medium rare. I was just about to say that line. I'll have a steak, medium rare. Yeah, I love Gandhi 2.
Oh.
I gotta watch it. I'm gonna definitely have to watch this one. Damn it,
Yeah.
I will. I'm watching less horror now, although
it's full of 80s nostalgia.
right, which that speaks to me. I really want to watch it. I haven't been watching much horror lately, but now I'm trying to get back in that mode. But I know that once I get back into it, it's gonna completely take over because that's what happens. So I watched 3 movies for this show. Now I'm watching 3 other movies for another show I'm doing. So I'm like, okay, I think this is gonna be what's gonna bring me back. But I've been watching like a lot of shows lately, like documentaries, and I've been watching all stuff about cults. All last week, all I did was watch stuff about cults, about the Heaven's Gate, about the Waco, about the freaking that Warren Jeffs guy and the Mormon thing, everything that went down there. And I've been watching all this stuff.
Did you watch Wild Wild West on Netflix?
No, what is that?
Oh,
that is another cult that was out in I think Oregon or Washington, one of those Pacific Northwest states. It's worth checking out. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but
I'll watch it.
Keep watching it. That gets wild. Like,
thank you.
By the end of it, you're like, wait,
the Fresh Prince is
going
great.
On?
The Fresh Prince. No, I'll definitely watch it. I thought he was wheeling himself out. I thought he was hightailing out of here.
Yeah, he showed himself out after making that joke.
Yeah, like, okay, is that what he's doing? Man, but these cults, I tell you, I'm fascinated. I've watched everything about Jonestown, and I could keep watching. As sad as it is, I'm just obsessed with the whole phenomenon of it. I'm like, how the hell?
Well, cults are fascinating because they're in real life. So
they sure are.
Did you see,
and they're everywhere.
Speaking of cults, have you seen a movie called The Empty Man?
No,
yes.
I know. I have to watch it. Everybody's been blowing it, so I really want to watch it.
Watched it in December, and it was.
Well,
I loved it.
I did too. And I think, Dave, I think it would fail your test based on the cover art because the cover art.
I know what the cover art. It's just
like
that T.
The Bye Bye Man, which was a piece of trash. Yeah. And that's what I thought when I first saw the cover art for it. I was like, I'm not watching that. And then I heard somebody talking about it. I wish I could remember who I originally heard give that movie praise. And I was like, well, maybe it's a shot. And I watched it, and it turned out to be very good.
Empty Man, there's a bunch of people that started giving it praise, but the first person that I know was Jason Smith. I don't know if you follow him or not, but he was definitely in some of the group that I followed. He was really raving about it and said no one was talking about this film. Mm-hmm. And I remember then all of a sudden more and more people were talking about it because it wasn't available in a lot of places.
Well, they totally botched the release of the movie.
Yeah.
It may have been, I don't know if I have my story straight, but if my memory is serving me correctly, it may have been the last movie that was filmed under the Fox name. And then Disney acquired it and was like, whatever, we'll just put that over here. So it never really got a great marketing campaign. It never got a good release. And it just kind of dropped on VOD without any fanfare or anything. And it took people time to discover it.
And the downfall is it has a generic name that unfortunately a year before Bye Bye Man came out, like you mentioned, and it just, The Empty Man, just Slender Man, Bye Bye Man, it just all came out at the same time that I think it got lost in that shuffle, but it's a far superior movie than either of those. It's a great movie. Yeah. It's funny because the opening scene, rivals
like
I think Friday the 13th
movie.
part. Yeah, like that remake
short.
of Friday the 13th where it's like this whole movie. And then the title card comes on, I think, at that point.
Yeah, it's like a 20-minute short, and then the title card comes up.
Yeah, and then the movie starts. And then you're kind of wondering, are they going to reference back? And they do, and it's great. But I just wanted, what I went to get is I knew I had it on DVD. I have the digital copy of First Blood in Blu-ray. But this is like I wanted to see if this had the commentary on it, which it does. So I'm going to listen to that commentary now.
Yeah, commentaries can be hit and miss, but his is pretty interesting because he talks about all about how like he did not want to do the movie. Sylvester Stallone did not want to do the movie.
Wow.
Well, we know that there's other actors out there. We've brought it up on the show before, and I think other people have like, whether it be Dave or Brandon, have brought up other actors that have done this. But when you think of actors that have created one iconic role there's a ton of them. When you think of actors that have created 2 iconic roles, it starts to get whittled down quite a bit. Yes. I know 2 off the top of my head, and it's Sylvester Stallone and Harrison Ford. And I always say, like, Indiana Jones and Han Solo, Rocky and Rambo. I'm not saying they're the only 2.
In there too.
Schwarzenegger,
Conan and Terminator.
Yep. Again, you're right, and then many more for him as well, I guess. But yeah, those just iconic, maybe because of the influence they had of the age that I was growing up, and then just standing the test of time. But there's way more. I mean, there's like you can have like I guess the guys that did like some people might throw Keanu Reeves in that maybe because of
Matrix
and the other guy,
John Wick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's probably a dozen more that I'm.
This makes me want to do a top 10 list for those.
There you go.
Right. That's interesting. And I'm thinking of classic actors. I'm like, I wonder. I'm thinking about like Pacino and guys like that. I'm like, did they do any? But they didn't do a whole lot of sequelitis. It wasn't as big at that time.
You could have people that have done a character and been in something else that was memorable, but I think these are iconic, like film
multiple
series,
character franchises.
Exactly, and that were established and made that definitely resonated with an audience for years and still do.
Yeah. You know what's weird? Tony Todd. I want to say that. There's the third. He was involved in 3 movies that became, or 3 different franchises, and I can't remember the third. Candyman is one. Final Destination will be the second one. And and there's another one. And
Hatchet?
I can't.
I mean, he was
maybe Hatchet.
He was
maybe Hatchet.
in the first.
Yeah, he was in part 1. Yeah. So there are 3 and things
2.
that he was involved in the first one that spun off into other stuff. Granted, it wasn't the most involved, especially in Final Destination, but still things he got involved in took off, because I remember there was an opportunity to interview him at one point, and I was thinking about some of the things I was going to ask him if it presented itself, and that's what I do. I research, and I was like, wow, it's interesting that he did this and this and this, and they all took off into,
I think there's one that's about to become one, but the second movie of one of the franchises hasn't come out yet. That's Daniel Craig, James Bond, and the detective in Knives Out. They're coming out with a Knives Out 2 sometime soon.
That's true.
So that might be like a newbie. And then I was just thinking of one while you were mentioning that, and it just told. The Robert Englund. Like, I mean, there's an iconic killer that played Freddy for all those years, but I'm just trying to think. Yeah, he was in V. Yeah, he was like, a bad guy in The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, but nothing I don't know that resonated
as a franchise.
Yeah, another franchise. But but that was an iconic character. But I'm trying to think if he had that another one of those, he would have been. I would say that he would be definitely the horror equivalent of a Sylvester Stallone or whatever. I'm not talking about caliber of acting either. I'm talking about the iconic character that has been created. Like Han Solo, and when I say the name, that you think of Harrison Ford. Even with that new movie that came out like a few years ago.
I haven't watched it and I will not watch it.
Oh, you should give it a shot.
The fact they made it is a travesty.
Oh, you should watch it. Oh, really? Do you feel that way about it?
Wow. I actually didn't mind it. I didn't mind it.
I liked it too.
I got it free on 4K too.
I get like that about some movies. Like I still have not watched episode 1, and I won't.
Really?
Yeah. I watched 2 and 3, not 1.
Why not
funny.
1?
I'm the minority. I liked 1 more than the 2 and 3. I out of the first trilogy, I liked the first one better than the other ones. I felt the other ones just seemed like they were Rocky IV edited, but also I thought the acting was atrocious. I thought the dialogue was all over the place. I was just dumbfounded, and the action scenes just seemed like cartoons in front of me, which I know they are, but I just couldn't. Nothing felt like it had weight. The first one, the downfall of it is too much Jar Jar, which I'm willing to overlook.
Your question, Dave, that's the reason I heard so much shit talk about Jar Jar. I was like, I don't want to deal with that.
Well, it's just a different generation.
I understand.
My cousin who's in his 30s now, I guess he was the right age at 99 to think Jar Jar was awesome. So to him, it was the Chewbacca of our era, in a sense.
Well, and a lot of people give the Star Wars movies shit for being aimed at children. like the people our age are like, oh, these are kids movies. Well, what the hell do you think they were when we were that age? You know, that's when we were watching them. You know, we played Star Wars all the time when I was a kid. We used to argue over who had to be Leia.
You won.
Luckily, you didn't see.
We got the puns.
You didn't Leia.
Awesome. And people that aren't watching don't get the reference, but that's funny.
Usually when there's a bunch of guys there, no one played Leia. It was who wanted to be Luke, who wanted to be Han, and then someone would be Chewbacca.
Right.
Or Chewbacca, as we like to call him.
Chewbacca. See, I was fortunate because I had a gay friend, even at that age, right? And it was funny. He was sly about it.
So he played Luke.
Stop it.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Damn, dude. Don't blaspheme on Luke. Holy shit. Although Luke doesn't really have. Oh no, he does. Yeah, he does. He did kind of like. He was pretty happy when Leia kissed him. So yeah.
I was gonna say he's
really Miss Biggs.
He's incestuous. There's
That's true. Yeah,
his missing of Biggs. He wanted Biggs around a little too much.
Oh, shit. Or R2.
Pop when he sees him. Yeah, or R2.
Or R2. It's the original Titan. He was into the fucking droid. That should have been a movie. A guy should have fucked a droid instead of a girl fucking cars. That'd be some shit.
I'm so mad at Watson for making me watch Titan. Oh my god.
You feel like I
love that movie, man. You didn't like it, Eric?
I think it's a phenomenal work of art. I think it was skillfully crafted. But like I kept texting him while I was watching the movie. Oh my god, what the fuck is this? What am I watching? Ah!
Yeah. So I'm trying to get my family. I keep wanting to get my family to watch it because that damn ending. I get so emotional at the end of that movie. I don't know what it is.
Wow,
and I really want to have them watch it. I'm like, why am I going to do this? I know they're not going to like the movie. So why am I going to make them watch this? Because they're going to be looking at me going, what the fuck are we watching here? I know they're going to.
No, I'm not gonna shame anybody for loving that movie because it was made with a tremendous amount of talent. But I'm probably not gonna watch it again.
and so be it. There's a lot of movies that I say the same thing for. Like people will be like, well, how do you not like this again? And you're coming from. I go, it's just what resonates and what doesn't. It's different for everybody. Like I just could not get into, as you well know, Malignant. I just could not. I'm not saying they're on the same level by any means, but people kept saying from a filmmaking standpoint, can't you believe how well Malignant was made? I'm like, I didn't see it. So that's why I got to watch it again. I promised I was going to watch it again, but I haven't.
Did you watch my YouTube video on Malignant?
Is that the one I watched?
I don't know.
I can't remember. But
yeah,
why?
You should watch it.
Wait, you weren't fond of it either, weren't you? Were you?
I was, but I was ashamed of myself.
Okay. But why are you ashamed? Like, what was it that you were ashamed about?
I can recognize the problems with the movie. Like, everything you complain about with that movie, I see it. But I don't care. I had a blast.
No, but that's what it boils down to. All the arguments that we've made with these movies, there are problems with pretty much. There are a lot of movies that have problems with them that I absolutely love. It's personal preference then. I can't. That's why I try not to fault. I go, oh, you're ridiculous for loving it. We'll crack those sometimes if we get into these heated discussions and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's all in jest. Like we're not by any means serious. You like what you like. It didn't resonate with me. I remember, like I said, my daughter and I were just sitting there dumbfounded. Again, it's the delivery of the dialogue. Sometimes it feels like the movie's been put on 1.25 speed, but you're not aware of it. And that's what it just felt like. I'm like, sometimes it just feels like there's no weight to it.
Everybody's got their own opinion, and that's fine as long as it's an honest opinion. What bugs me is when I get the feeling like when I'm watching some of these reviews online or whatever, that some of the people out there will intentionally come out with a negative viewpoint on a popular movie or vice versa just to get the attention, and that bothers me.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I'm a James Wan apologies. I said he's probably the modern. Everybody talks about Craven and whatever. Like, I'm more of a Carpenter. I was a Craven fanatic when I was a kid, and I'm not going to deny his filmography. He's got some great ones in there. Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream are two standouts. I'm not saying I don't like anything else that he's done, because there's other great things there too. But I'm just saying from a modern day standpoint, I like Hereditary and Midsommar as well. But those are two solid fucking movies right now. So I can't wait what comes out next. But from a multi-movie standpoint, James Wan wins. From a modern day standpoint, I think. Him and Rob Zombie, and that's arguable because I'm a Rob Zombie apologist.
I'll argue with you.
yeah. I'm the Rob Zombie apologist on here. Hell,
Rob Zombie has about a 33% hit rate with me.
Okay.
Don't hate all his stuff, but don't love it either.
I like it all till his last two. But I think
the last
Flanagan
two were
is
kind of
the most
bummers.
consistent.
Last one he came out with that I really liked was Lords of Salem.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Flanagan is, like, from a general standpoint, you're right. Flanagan,
Very
based on his TV work and everything else, he's been extremely consistent.
I'm genius.
I'm
You watched Midnight Mass, right?
I have not, and I haven't watched
I know. My fucking family, I keep trying to get them to, I'm such a good man that they know I wanted to watch this show. And they always push to watch something. We finished Curb Your Enthusiasm. Then I said, okay, let's watch Seinfeld now, because my daughter's never seen Seinfeld, but she's seen Curb. Okay, let's do this. So we start watching a couple of Seinfelds, and then I go, eventually I've been telling them for a year now, I want to watch this Midnight Mass. Plus, they liked the other one. The first one that he did, the whatever the hell it's called, Hill House, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I really want to watch this. Everybody's saying that's really great. I want to watch this. They still have it now. Out of nowhere, a couple weeks ago, we started a new show, which, by the way, is an excellent show. It's produced by A24. It's an excellent show. I'm glad we started watching it. It's called Euphoria. Have you seen this show?
Oh, I've heard of it.
Oh, my wife and daughter loved it.
I heard
they
that
watched
the first
together.
season
they loved the
the
whole
second
thing.
season is not.
What about the second season? What'd you say?
I've heard that the first season is phenomenal and the second season is not.
Oh,
That's what I've heard about it.
They loved it. They didn't like the end of. So I think what Eric was just referring to, something about the end of the second season was anticlimactic or something. I don't know the ins and outs of it. But I heard there's a lot of sex.
Well, that's okay. That's the thing. Speaking of watching something with your kids, now that I've seen this show with my my wife and daughter picked it out. I didn't even know it existed. So like, we want to watch this show Euphoria. So now I'm watching it, and now after watching this with my daughter, I have the comfort to watch anything with her.
Right.
No, now I can watch Boogie Nights, which is one of my favorite movies.
One of the people I was listening to review Euphoria referred to it as Dong Central.
Oh, there's lots. There's just so much sex, and there's all kinds of different crazy. It's teenagers, modern teenagers. Finally, it's almost like watching a movie like Kids or like Bully. You know what I mean? This is how kids actually are instead of the way they try to portray it on, like, ABC Family shows and everything else. This is a modern take with, we can show, and again, there's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of sex, there's a lot of shit. But the creator of it, I looked him up because he's a big horror fan, and I could tell because he sprinkled little things in there. He had the girl dress up as the nun from Ms. 45, and she mentioned that was the reference.
Oh, I just watched that movie recently.
Well, that's a reference that only a fan would pop in. They're not going to do that. Right? That's awesome.
Exactly.
I love when they do that.
And there's little things here and there that they drop in there that are straight horror nods that my wife and daughter don't know, and I pointed out to them. So it's trippy, the visuals and shit like that. And again, it's dirty and stuff like that. And so it's very and me, I'm not one of those people. I know a lot of people don't like watching things about teenagers and shit like that. Like, they get to a certain age and they think, I don't know, like watching teen horror or teen slashers. For me, that's never left me. I still feel like a teen, so it's never. Yes, I'm an adult and I can understand adult-oriented horror movies, but I also still resonate with the teen stuff because to me, I was a teen. I still feel like one in many ways. So it's like,
especially on YouPorn.
I'm never one of those people.
YouPorn was the first one that came. Not Pornhub, YouPorn. I'm sorry, Dave, for cutting you.
No, it's okay. So at the end of the show, it comes up A24. I'm like, holy shit, that makes sense. And something else great they produced. So we're going to get to it,
I'll probably check out Euphoria just to understand what people are talking about at some point. I just have trouble watching everything I want to watch because there's just too much content.
There's a lot of content, man.
Yeah,
right.
But Midnight Mass, you guys got to catch up with it because I know, Dave, you're a bit of a gore hound, and it's not It's a slow-paced thing, but it's 7 episodes, and it has a lot of character development, a lot of dialogue. If you're into that, if you're into just like watching people act and character development and everything, they explore themes in this show about life and death and religion and everything. I think overall it's one of the best pieces of genre work ever done.
Wow. Holy
I've
shit,
heard,
that's some high praise. I'm passing on it. It's a hard pass, but that's some high praise. I'll have to check it out.
Well, it's not for everybody. I know Dave's a bit of a gore hound, and everybody is talking about it. Everybody has their personal taste. If you don't like slow stuff with a lot of character development, it might bore the crap out of you. I love that shit. So
me too. If I'm into it,
for me,
I might be the only horror fan out there. And again, it's not to be argumentative. That's like just kind of like, yeah, Flanagan's good. Everybody blows him. Everybody loves him. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like Dr. Sleep grew on me the first time I watched Dr. Sleep.
Didn't do it for me.
I was okay.
I didn't even watch it.
Blind Manor didn't do it for me.
That's what I kept hearing.
But a lot of his other stuff did. Dr. Sleep, I will watch that all day long.
So the first time I was, I guess, expecting too much that I was like, I was not, again, it wasn't resonated with me the way I wanted it to when I saw the theater. So I was just like, 7 out of 10 at that point. Then I rewatched, I'm like, what was I thinking? And I'll be the first to go, I had it stuck up my ass or whatever when I watched it because I loved it. Like The Descent. I hadn't watched The Descent for how many years? Eric, was it you, Eric, that made me watch it again? And I freaking loved it. So I will never be like, some things I might be set in, but I'm not set in the sense of it will never change my opinion or mind. I feel like that's just ridiculous for anything in life. But just there's certain things like, I mean, it's as good as the last time you watched it, right? That's just like anything. And for whatever reason, Flanagan it's hit or miss for me. But I'm willing to give it a try because at least he keeps.
Watch 2 episodes of Midnight Mass. Yeah. Because there's something that happens at the end of the second episode that really gets the ball rolling. If you get to the end of the second episode and you're not in, then bail.
Yeah, but where I'm going with it is at least he keeps coming back at the bat. He's dedicated to horror, and you can't disrespect that. That's phenomenal. So I love all that aspect to it. So I give him full credit for that. It's me. I know it's me. Something doesn't resonate with me all the time. But again, track record, just the fact that he keeps going back. You're right. Flanagan would probably be most people's top of modern day. But then, you have one.
He's one of my top 5 for sure right now.
I mean,
along with Webster and Jordan Peele and a couple
Think of what one created, though, from whether you like him or not. Think of the influence he's had on modern horror from creating Saw and the franchise it spawned, whether you like it or not, creating the Conjuring universe and creating the Insidious universe. I mean, I know I
don't care for the Insidious.
I know that.
Right, not after the first one. They're okay. 2's garbage, and then,
But there's 4 of them. Okay. I mean, there's still 4 films in the franchise.
I know.
I'm just saying, and again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be done. I know quality makes a difference too, but I'm just saying the fact that these have been expanded upon, and I actually really liked Dead Silence. Not great. It's like a 7 out of 10. Yeah. But I really like Dead Silence. Like, I thought that was good. I just watched Death Sentence again. I'll revisit that one every now and then.
Dead Silence, the dummy movie?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I haven't seen it.
It's okay.
So like Malignant, I was like, that's why I'm not coming out of this from a hate standpoint. He had a really good track record. I wasn't the biggest fan of Conjuring 2, even though everybody seemed to like it more than 1. So I said I'd give that one another try too, and I haven't really. But that one and Malignant were just kind of like, eh. And I like Conjuring 2 more than Malignant.
Okay.
Good.
But at least, I guess, again, I can't fault him 100% because he's trying something new. It's at least trying to be this whacked out premise.
Right.
At least he's trying to deliver something new.
That's what I said about the movie Old last year. The latest Shyamalan.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's not the best movie I've ever seen. It's not the worst either. But it was definitely something I hadn't seen before. And I appreciated that.
That's it.
It was heavy, man.
If Shyamalan could just get someone else to maybe give a rewrite on his dialogue sometimes, that would be it. His dialogue is very forced. It's becoming his thumbprint trademark almost. But it's very fortunate. It's been that way. Some might argue that it was been that way because he wrote stuff before, a couple things before Sixth Sense, but it was in the Sixth Sense. But I didn't notice it as much. I definitely noticed it in Unbreakable, which I love. I love Unbreakable, but I remember him going, have I ever been sick before? Do you remember you ever being sick? How do you not know if you've been sick? You're never not going to know you've never been sick in your goddamn life. I'm like, how is this dialogue? Why is this such a, I remember back then, I remember to this day, it just was, that's a M. Night-ism. Like he loves putting that stuff in. He did it in all of his movies that followed suit. It was always this thing. But even Signs was
I love
good, but Signs was good and effective, but had that dialogue issue too. The Village, I remember seeing it with my wife,
awesome.
I hated it the first time I saw it. She
too.
loved it.
I've come around.
I hated it. I did. I've come around a little bit too. I'm like, what? These guys all took refuge because of something that happened and decided to talk like assholes in the middle of the forest for like years. Like,
talk like assholes.
I think that was my original review. I remember. I'm like
talk like assholes.
We're not just going to
proper English.
We're not going to just habitat this and make certain that we all live and we can create the world, the ideal world we want. We're going to talk like a bunch of fucking assholes to really to nobody that's watching other than these viewers in the audience here. Anyway.
Oh man.
That aside, at least he tries and he'll come back and he'll try something different and he'll come back. Split, I wasn't a big fan of the first time I watched it. Then I liked it. Mm-hmm. Again, I mocked his performance, which everybody else loved, and I'm the one that making fun of the 9-year-old kid. I came around. I'm an asshole, but my opinion can change.
See, that's great. I love having my opinion change. It's a sad life if you always feel the same about everything, every topic, and never grow. You know, and I'm not saying I'm special because I grow. On a personal level, I enjoy the feeling that I get when I change my mind about something. It's like, it's like something else that gives me joy in life. And you appreciate it more because you took this journey with it. At first you didn't like it, then you're like, now it's like, it hit me. Now I see what the big deal is. That's a great feeling. It doesn't happen that much, but when it does happen, I'm like, okay. My mind's been changed, and I feel like I've learned something today. That's that's awesome. You know, that's what life is. I love that. The only thing with me is, if I can't make sense of something, I know a lot of people say, well, there's this problem in this movie, and this problem in this movie, and this problem with this movie, but I still like it. That, for some reason, doesn't happen with me. Like, if I see an issue in a movie, and I say, well, that doesn't make any sense, and it could have been corrected this way, and as a result, this movie's going to be a 7 instead of an 8 or something like that. I can't come up because that can't be fixed. If I'm looking at a movie, I'm like, well, like what you were talking about with Malignant before. Like if I had that, if I'm watching Malignant and I see like 3 things that like, well, that's a huge plot hole or this, and this, and I can't come to terms with it, like fill in the blanks myself and say, okay, it's plausible that this happened, then I can't like rate it a certain way.
For me, it depends.
Might be my problem.
Some movies I'll see stuff like that and I'll be like, this movie is ridiculous. And other times I can get like a perfect example, the Quiet Place movies. I love those movies. They're fantastic. I can pick them to shreds as far as plot holes and everything like that, but I don't care. Wow. So I was so engaged while I was watching the movie.
Yeah,
I can't pick them to shreds.
Yeah.
See, if I could pick them to shreds, I can't like it. See, that's my problem. Like, again, I want to sit down with you some other time and say, okay, tell me what's wrong with The Quiet Place. And I'll tell you, if I don't have an answer, you've changed my mind in the movie. Now it's no longer a 9.5. Now it's going to be fucking a 9 or an 8 or something. Because that's just how I am. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. You're right. That's fucking stupid.
But that's the job of a director, I think, or the creators of the film, to take what they've been given, whether it be the script. And if it's the writer or director, then they know that they already know. But it's, again, how they present that film to sell it to the audience. So, I mean, and again, on whether it be first time watch or multiple watches, you're sold on it. Like, how many times have we picked apart, like, the inconsistencies in Halloween, yet it's your favorite horror film or one of your favorites? Like, well, let's be honest. we've said we know that there's problems with the timeline or whatever, because it wasn't really meant to be watched 1,000 times over per se. It was meant as a product to scare an audience at that time, and it was successful, but then it stood the test of time. But there are inconsistencies with that. Okay.
But not to me, there's not. When you brought them up, I had an answer. If I can't rationalize it a certain way, it's going to affect my feeling on it. Like with Halloween, you guys talk about the car ride being this, and the color changes with the dusk. It goes from. I'm like, well, how do you know they weren't driving around for an hour and a half? And it does. They just don't show you every bit.
That transition,
and then the thing
that's
about the alarm,
exactly it. The alarm is wacky, and the driving to where they're going, to the proximity of Donald Pleasance walking around the corner at the end of the movie, going, "Oh, he's on this street." Who the fuck knew? Lonnie, get back here.
Maybe I gotta pay attention to that more next time I saw it.
But I have no problem with it. These are the things that have just, in the last more like 15 years, I've just realized by watching it like more consistently than ever before. Do I still love the movie? Absolutely. Just like Friday the 13th Part 2. We have to believe the premise that Jason lived in the fucking woods all those years right. And just decided. So, like, I mean, it's stupid, but they said we got to go somewhere, and we're going to go with this timeline. So they kind of under-explain it, make it more of a folk tale again, or a like ghost story, if you will, and then make it and then carry that over as the plot. But there is a lot of inconsistencies there. Who makes the phone call to Alice at the beginning of Part 2?
And I think that's the case with most of the slasher franchises, because honestly, the people involved don't care. They're out to make money. They don't care about being consistent and explaining everything that you want explained. You can still have a good time with them.
Sure.
But
and that's what it boils down to.
I don't think that's the best place to look for consistency. And I think really that's going to happen more in multiple entry franchises than it is with singular movies. Like the last Star Wars trilogy. A lot of talent involved with those movies. I really wish everybody would have gotten in a fucking room before they started. Like, okay, here's how it's going to go through the 3 movies, instead of being like, I'm going to do this one. Well, then I'll change everything in the second one. Well, then I'm going to change it back in the third one. It's just, it's craziness. Anyway.
I can admit that. It does seem like there was a different page in the second as compared to the first, and then they brought it back in the third with, I feel you there. I wish they would have sat down. But that's where, and I hate to say it, because if I look at the script for the first 3, or not the first 3, but the prequels, there's too much dialogue. There's too much of this, and it goes over people's heads. But that's where you have to have a Lucas. You have to have a guy that this is my project, and this is what I'm envisioning, a beginning to an end, like a Vince McMahon in WWE. They always say that's the thing that the other federations fail, because they don't have a guy at the top saying, okay, you have to do this for this reason, and this is the path we're going to go from A to Z. You know what I mean? So you're right. I don't know why they would do it that way, but I thought what's his name was going to be the guy behind it all, Abrams, but apparently not.
He's just too busy.
But it goes back to what we were saying, though, Dave, that you could enjoy it still and know that it has inconsistencies and flaws, which we've done. Like, I've rated Friday the 13th movies 10 out of 10, which some people would think are crazy. But
I don't.
It's because of the enjoyment that they brought to me, and nostalgia plays into it. Should that come into? I'm not saying I'm a film critic. We're rating movies based on our experience and enjoyment of them, and what we think based on like from when we first watched them to when we watch them now.
And it's interesting because that's how I generally review movies too, is how I felt about it. But I've also watched enough movies that at this point I can recognize a well-made movie from a not well-made movie.
True.
And it does play in. Yeah.
For sure. No, it will play into it
the
too.
Movies, I'm going to try and bring us back around to what we're supposed to be talking about. The movie we're talking about tonight. One of them with like the Mummy. We're talking about the Mummy 1959 tonight, right?
Yes.
I have an issue watching older movies, and the Mummy we're going to be talking about is a perfect example of the kind of older movie that I don't want to watch. But it's not all movie, because recently, earlier this year, I watched The Innocents for the first time, 1961. Yeah. And that movie is a masterclass in filmmaking that anybody who's interested in making a movie should check out. So I've learned I'm trying to change my ways and check out more older movies because they're not all like The Mummy. Some of them are like The Innocents. So I'm trying to loosen myself up in that regard and check out some older films that I haven't seen before because there's a lot of them.
Oh, are you not into Hammer film? Are you not into Hammer films?
I think The Mummy might be the first Hammer one I've watched, to be honest.
Wow.
There we go. This will be interesting then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
do you want to get into it?
Or yeah, I'm gonna run.
I'm game.
I'm gonna run. I gotta go
see
to
you
the
later,
bathroom
Dave.
for 2 seconds. You guys could start without me because I'm literally gonna be 90 seconds.
Yeah, we can talk about something until you get back.
Yeah, okay. We'll talk about something else.
I'm gonna run. You guys have fun.
You go. Piss your pants. So I can't. Okay. That's so that's interesting. This may be your first Hammer movie.
It might be.
Official.
Because there are certain like chunks of horror movies that I've just generally never bothered to check out. That's one of them. Italian horror is another one. I'll say that while Dave's away.
Yeah. Like you're talking like
Italian
Argento,
horror.
Fulci.
From what I've seen, it doesn't appeal to me, so I haven't spent time to go do it. So one of these days, I did watch the Suspiria remake. I haven't seen the original Suspiria still, which is kind of a travesty that even I can admit. And I should watch some of those at some point. But there are chunks of stuff that I haven't seen, and Hammer horror is one of them.
Now, do you go back? Have you watched so when I grew up and my dad would show me. He wasn't a big horror fan, but he loved the classic stuff. So he because he was a Hitchcock fan and he loved film, but horror wasn't really his favorite genre by any means. But he would show me like the old Universal ones. So I grew up watching the Universal ones, and I could appreciate.
I'm up to speed on the Universal at this point, but I had to make an effort. I had to make a conscious decision to do it. Because left to my own devices, I would not have. But one year, I was just like, this is the year I'm going to watch the original Universal monster movies. So I checked out, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, Dracula, Creature of the Black Lagoon, and all those. Yeah. And I'm glad I did, but they're still not my favorite movies.
And that's okay. That you'll have to probably do that same dedication to the Hammer catalog. So we've sprinkled in Hammer a few times. I think it's actually been requested by both Ramman in the past and Christine Stroud, who also is who also is on our Patreon, and she's a big Vincent Price fan. I know that for sure. So I think it happened to be a chunk that were Hammer ones there. And I'm not saying I had never seen Hammer before, but the majority of the Hammer ones that I'd seen previously were of the Christopher Lee Dracula style or the
I think I saw part of a Christopher Lee Dracula movie on TV when I was a kid. And I'll never forget this because my mom fucking tricked me, and I'm still mad at her for it. Because it was on TV, and it was coming up to the final scene of the movie, right, where somebody was gonna fight Dracula, and she was like, "Hey, we need to get ready to go. You need to go get your shoes on." I was like, "But Mom, they're about to have the final scene." And she's like, "Oh, you've already seen the good part." So I went and I got my shoes on and I came back and fucking Dracula was dead and I didn't get to see it. I was so mad at her.
Well, let me ask you a question because it's going to be weird. Some people might be like, "Christian, what the fuck are you talking about?" But that's okay because that's every show. Do you like slasher films? Do you consider yourself a slasher fan? Do you like Friday the 13th movies and everything else? And there's no wrong answer.
I like the movies, but I don't consider myself a fan. Because like the original of all the main franchises, they're classics. Original Friday the 13th, original Halloween, original Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street. Sorry, love all those guys. Tend to sour a bit on a lot of the sequels. They're most part not as good, with the exception of maybe Dream Warriors.
We agree with Dave and I both agree with that one.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say I'm a huge slasher fan. I like slasher movies, but not all of them. So I'll give you an example. I did not care for the Hatchet movies.
Not as much as 80s, no.
Yeah.
Modern slashers aren't as good. It's simple as that. They're just not.
You know why?
Can't be done.
Cell phones ruined everything.
Yeah.
You can't have a slasher now without having to have that stupid fucking line in the movie. Oh, I don't have any bars.
You have to do it. It sucks, but yeah. Or the base in the 80s.
I was just watching Commando. I watch Commando almost once a year now. And it's funny because there's that whole scene where he's just trying to get to that payphone to make the call because he knows that Schwarzenegger's back. I'm like, this whole scene wouldn't exist nowadays because he's just pulling his phone and go, hey, he's back.
I started watching X-Files from the beginning last year. And oh my God, the beginning of that series, there are so many scenes where Mulder and Scully are sitting around waiting for the FBI to fax them something. Like, oh my God, if they had cell phones, the case would be solved already.
Season premiere and finale all in one. The reason I bring up slashers is when I go back and revisit Hammer horror, I find what they've done is they've taken the classic Universal monsters, put them in a more modern setting, of course, at the time. But when I look at the Jasons and Freddys that came out in the 80s, it's essentially the Hammer horror movies just updated with these characters, meaning that they'll just put a mummy and the mummy goes on a rampage to kill and on revenge. They'll use Frankenstein. He's the monster that goes and kills on revenge. Dracula's the other example. He comes back. He gets killed every movie, very similar to a Jason style kill, and then gets resurrected in the next scene.
Right.
Very similar to like a Freddy or whatever, or Jason for that matter too. When it becomes like that, you'll realize that like what was really shit on in the 80s was just like, again, because again, they're just made for profit movies or recycled content, but no differently than I think what Hammer has done. But Hammer has this atmosphere and for whatever reason, this aura of class, probably because it kept bringing back these actors that do give it like a stroke of class a lot of times, like Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and whatnot. And I think that's exactly what we're missing because, you know, other than Robert Englund and Freddy, you didn't really get the class actor in any of the Friday the 13th movies.
And I didn't hate The Mummy. And I thought some of it was really good. I really loved the way The Mummy looked. That was pretty cool. I thought Peter Cushing was good.
We should introduce it. I forgot. Brandon usually does that, so I got to let me get on my A game here. My B game.
And in the meantime, slashers in the 80s. We were discussing this the other day. Me, my brother, and my buddy. And this is what we were saying. Slashers in the 80s, you had a bunch of unknown actors who later on, some of them had careers. Some of them didn't. But I mean, they were mostly a lot of basically unknown people doing this. In the 90s, the opposite thing happened where they got established on TV or something somewhere else, and then they came into a slasher movie. And to me, that was part of the problem, in my opinion, of 90s movies, is that they had to do that formulaic thing. And it's just like, well, I don't know if it would help the movie. It's just like it was just part of the problem, I guess, for me. And I love 80s
slasher. It was not a great time for horror.
No, not at all. And I'll say that forever. I added all these movies. I forgot to talk about this. I'm going to take 1 minute to say. I decided this year. 1 minute. No, literally. I'm kidding.
Okay.
I decided. Go. All right, go. I decided this year that I was going to watch all of the 80s slashers that I don't remember seeing and that I haven't seen since I was a kid that are they've never been. They're hard to get your hands on them. So I made a list. I went through 80, 81, and etc. on to find all these movies. And I'm telling you, YouTube, I have 19 of them are on YouTube. And one of them is on Tubi. And these are movies that if I did see them, I don't remember.
Okay. You send me that list? I'd like to. I'll take the Dave Z challenge, and I'll tell you whether way if I remember them or saw them or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's some I left off. I look, I'm like, okay, this is a direct-to-video. It's got a rating of a 2.2 on IMDb. I'm like, no, it would have to be at least something that I had an interest in, or some people said they're so bad they're good. A couple of them. I said because I believe that was the time when we could do it. But anyway, and I'll watch it with those guys and have some fun. But maybe next show or something. But it's what I'm gonna do this for fun. So
we've already started feather dusting its nuts, but we're gonna officially get into it. We're going to start with The Mummy, 1959, directed by Terence Fisher. And the synopsis is: in 1895, British archaeologists find and open the tomb of Egyptian princess Annika with nefarious consequences. Excuse me.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Annika. Yes, the Mummy. Interesting. This is my problem with the Mummy. Is that they spend all this time on the background of it. It's like they were trying to fill time up for this movie. Or it could have been like
Dave.
Right? They were trying to pad the running time. Okay, instead of just taking 2 minutes to explain the mythology of what happened in the day, let's show a 20-minute scene. And then later on in the movie, we're going to literally show you scenes that you've already seen in this movie that happened in present day or in the past for 5 more minutes.
I was watching this movie last night with my friends Dan and Susie. And at one point, I just turned to Dan and went, is it just me or are they repeating themselves? And he was like, nope, absolutely, they're repeating themselves.
An hour and 85-minute movie. It's a short running time too, but this is Hammer. I feel like this is franchise making before franchise filmmaking was a thing. Like, I actually remember when this one came out, my father would say, "Oh, this one's kind of like boring." I think the sequel, The Mummy's Shroud, I think, or whatever it is, like that one was better film. I'm going by memory though. I got to rewatch that one. But this is not necessarily much of an improvement on like the Universal Mummy. This is kind of just a color version of it. Did I like seeing Christopher Lee? Yeah. Did I like seeing Peter Cushing? Absolutely. The colors were nice. There's a certain atmosphere that you get from a Hammer film that I respect and I like. But the movie is slower moving than a Mummy.
Yes.
This Mummy comes in techno dancing style. Christopher Lee walks in like arms. I don't know what they were trying to do, but the Mummy walk is kind of ridiculous. No?
Well, I did read a piece of trivia that apparently Christopher Lee was injured during the filming of this movie. So part of that is just like a natural gimpy thing.
Yeah. Wow. But he comes in, it's like doing some weird robot dance. Not robot, because that's so much staccato. It's more like lucid arm. Like it's the weirdest thing when he bashes through a door and then comes in. But
tell you what, though, one of the things I liked about the movie is that there was no doubt that this mummy was strong as hell, because it could like bash those doors down. And then he was throwing Peter Cushing around like a rag doll. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. No, there's great things, but you're right. It felt padded, and again, like it's a very easy tale of revenge. I don't know how this guy managed to come from Egypt, the Shriner, the captain of the Shriners.
Yeah,
you knew he was Egyptian because he wore the Shriner cap the whole movie. That's what they did back in the day, right? Like that was a show. Oh, he's not American, or he's not from the UK.
Right.
He's a foreigner. Anyway, so he comes in with all this relic shit, holds up in a mansion that's like a kilometer away from everybody, and then just able to let this mummy go on a rampage whenever he wants to. And then talks about like remember Peter Cushing shows up at the end and he's like, "Oh, you got any more relics from back in the day?" Because he suspect him at this time.
Right.
Oh no, those got lost in transit. Lost in transit. It's just like that's talking like tens of thousands, if not more money lost.
Right.
He doesn't seem to be too worried about it. I just thought some of the dialogue was a little weird in this one, but I still had fun with it.
Going on.
It was still fun, but just a little boring and a little like the dialogue was a little weird.
Yeah, there were two little two plot things where I was just like, one of them was okay, so this guy's whole goal is to get revenge on the people that desecrated the tomb, right? So at one point he sends the mummy out to kill one of the dudes. And he's in the same house as one of the other dudes. And the mummy comes and kills the one dude and leaves.
Yes.
And it's like, he's right there. Get the other, he's right there.
And the bullets are not affecting you.
Wow.
Like he's getting shot, but the bullets are not affecting him, right?
Well, that's fine. Except to the end of the movie. It doesn't, okay, this is a supernatural thing, okay? So I can accept that the bullets don't affect him. I kind of like it. I'm like, okay.
And that was the other thing I was going to bring up.
But then at the end, how does that kill him? That's what bothers me.
Apparently, you can shoot him with a pistol. That doesn't kill him. You can stab him with a spear. That doesn't kill him. You can shoot him twice with a shotgun, and that doesn't do anything. But if you shoot him with a bunch of guns at the same time, then that'll work.
Yep. And he could drown.
Well, but the whole stupid part is they shouldn't have had him fire a gun at him then, because all he's doing is exactly what Eric said, drawing attention to, hey, idiot, I'm still here. The bullets do nothing to him. So then by showing the bullets doing nothing to him, it just makes the plot problem at the end that much more of a problem. But then you're right. He's in the next room and he's now drawing attention to himself, and the mummy's not coming back to kill him. So it is really stupid.
And then the guy sends him again. And it's like, what? This is a really inefficient operation here.
Yeah. He's only allowed one kill a night.
You guys need a logistics manager.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that the guy was right there. Holy cow. I drifted a couple times, honestly. You know, and there was a couple. It was just, and again, it's slow moving. That's the thing with mummies. They move slow, and then when they get there, the kills are always
strangle.
Cares. Yeah, it's that's always my problem with mummies. It's boring. It's a boring method of kill, and it's a boring walk. Granted, they'll say, well, you have no problem with zombies and when they're walking, but that's a bunch. And I don't know. It's just I'm not going to knock the movie because I think that it was well made. A lot of the set design, not all of it. There was some stuff in the beginning where it's obviously you could tell that they're on a soundstage. But as soon as they go into the tombs, that stuff looks really good. You can see where the money went there. So there's some nice sets. Obviously, the acting for the most part is good. So it's fundamentally sound that way. I just didn't have to be as long as it was, and it was for an 85-minute movie, whatever it is. It seemed longer than it had to be, and it was just
That was my main issue with the movie, is that they repeated a whole bunch of stuff. They almost showed us the exact same scene twice, with another 60 seconds added on when the mummy comes out of the wall. It's like didn't need to see that twice, really, you know.
No,
but the backstory is good. The backstory is good and necessary. Yes. So I didn't feel like the movie stopped dead for it, but it's for to be repeated again, almost like then there's problems there as well. But these were, I think that was what it was. They knew they wanted to bring these movies back, and these were kind of like the first. I feel like these were just products. Like they knew the budget. I think was $125,000, if I read that correctly. Mm-hmm. Maybe that was shillings, or what was it? Pounds in the
pounds. Yeah. Maybe. Here's what I don't get also.
Shillings.
This is supposed to be some buried tomb and tough to get to. Mm-hmm. As soon as they get in there, 10 steps and they're right into the freaking. There's a money. This beautiful thing. 10 steps.
I also turned to Dan when they went in there, and I was like, rooms in pyramids aren't this big. It's like the pyramids in Egypt. There's like tunnels that you literally have to crawl through because that's the only way you can fit. You can't just like walk around.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was like a freaking living room of a mansion or something.
And it was well lit and decorated.
And why does this guy care?
4,000 years ago.
Did they explain why this guy cares? Like he said, I don't want you to desecrate the Shriner guy. I don't want you to desecrate
because he worships.
You got to stop what you're doing. But if they don't care, why should he care? I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna go unleash you so you can exact your revenge on the 3 people that desecrated your love's tomb. He seemed fine sleeping. The mummy was totally cool with it. It's like, oh fuck. You woke me up again. I guess I gotta do what I gotta do. Yeah. I love how the hair up. He couldn't tell that was his girlfriend, or it looked like his girlfriend. The second she put her hair down, totally transforms her into looking exactly like
your hair.
What? Yeah.
He's getting strangled. Your hair is up. Man, we are tearing this movie apart. I still enjoyed it. There's a charm again for Hammer films. That charm is there, but I can only go so high because it feels padded. A short film feels padded, and it's not that entertaining in the big picture. Yeah. But I appreciate at least the look of the movie. That's what Hammer movies look like, to be honest, Eric. So just get used to that.
It didn't look bad. No, I liked the look of the mummy. I thought the mummy looked cool.
Yeah,
like
so
I want to
it's
check
fine.
out the sequel. I want to watch the sequel, to be honest, because I remember that being faster paced for some reason.
I've never seen it, but I will watch it. I have one question about something that happened in the movie, though. Do you guys really think it's possible to be concerned about being drunk when you're driving a carriage drawn by horses? Like, wouldn't the horses stay on the road regardless of what you're doing? Or I've never driven one.
It depends on
so
what you're doing.
I don't know how it works. Like, but there's a path.
They're both
for the horses,
shit-faced.
though.
They're both shit-faced. They're talking about putting their, should we strap that down? Now it'll be fine. And they both just all drive. Like, who cares who drives? I got the vibe. That second that scene went, Dave, I was wondering the same thing. Does it really matter that you're not drunk? I guess it does. But when the
I don't know.
when the crate fell into the water, I thought of Return of the Living Dead Part 2 when I don't know why, it looked like the exact same shot where the barrel of trioxin bounces down and falls into the water. It looked like verbatim the same shot. I'm like, I think they ripped that off and copied this shot. Anyway, that's what went through my head because it's just one of those things. But yeah, I was wondering, is being drunk, does it really that matter? Doesn't the horse do all the work?
That's what I thought. Unless the way you do something, the way you negotiate with the horse to get where it's going to go. But I can't imagine where. Well, I don't want to say whip it because I don't know what the word is to instruct the horse. I don't know what it is.
Well,
I
you
don't know how
should
often-
use reins, but I don't like. I think you're right to a certain extent, Dave. If there's a path, a road, and it's pulling a cart down the road, and you tell it to turn left, the horse is
grass.
smart enough that it's not going to just like run into the fucking woods.
See?
But I do think you might not end up where you want to be if you're drunk and driving a horse.
There's that. Yeah. But I'll tell you, that's one good thing about living in those times. You didn't have to worry about drunk driving. You can go out to the bar, slam a few down. Fuck it.
I did like how when he was getting into the carriage, he fell forward with his face right in a horse's ass. That was great.
Oh, shit.
But it really does seem like if that was happening in a nowadays slasher, people would have been like all over it. It's really no different than a lightning bolt bringing back Jason, or a power line bringing back Jason, or a dog pissing on Freddy's grave. And it's such a bizarre way to get the mummy into that little swamp. And like, that's the swamp he rises out of, where the guy comes and reads. That guy could have been reading like the phone book. It just like, I honestly think it was I want to know if that was actual language or if
The
it's
Scrolls
just
of
made
Life.
up shit. Yeah. A jobby, a bobbity, a tommy, a samanima, badubaduvasi.
Well,
And
yeah,
then
Dan turned to me when he was reading that and he went, "Oh, thank God it's in English."
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
So no, I didn't hate it, but it dragged for sure.
Yeah.
I did like the look of it, like you were saying, Christian. A couple of plot sillinesses, but I've seen worse. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's bad. I just, you have something it could have been better is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Would I watch it again? Maybe.
I'm not likely to.
I'll check out the sequel. I don't know. Now I can say I've seen it in recent times. I remember my dad and I watching it when I was a kid, and I do remember him saying this one's a little dull. I think I remember, it just brings back memories of it. And then when I was watching it again, I'm like, yeah, he's fucking bang on. But it's not, again, it's not, by no means is it horrible. Like I said, and there's a charm to it. So it's a hard movie to rate because I guess I'd say it's 6 out of 10.
Me too. That's it.
But I liked it. Yeah, that's like.
Would you say 5,
right?
Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. I'd like to talk to Ram Man about it. Obviously, he really likes all these movies, so I'm curious about this. And I don't know, Ram Man. I don't know. Get back at us. I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
He's got to like it more than we do. I'm just curious. Maybe he's just fond of the acting because these are all Cushing, Price, and Lee all over the place, which is great.
And I feel bad, like this happens with our Patreon picks on Dark Discussions too. I feel bad when somebody picks a movie and I don't like it.
I know, me too. A little.
I realize that this person picked the movie because they like it and they want us to hear us say good things about it. So that's disappointing that I didn't like it as much as he does.
Oh, he told me, he texted me, he says he doesn't care about your opinion. He was more concerned about Dave's.
Well, that makes sense. He didn't even know I was going to be here.
I know.
How do you know?
I'm kidding. I am being a horse's ass. As usual. You can't expect
Just
anything
like that
different.
guy.
Yeah.
Right. That would be you falling into
Damn
the
it,
thing.
Christian, I just declare a feud.
Yeah. Oh, no, you already got
Hold
a
on.
feud, Eric. I can't give you a new one. Shit.
Hmm.
We should start a feud, Ram Man and somebody, for fun. You know? Ram Man and John
does
Rhodes.
not want to work.
Why not?
What is happening here? There we go.
What is happening here? You tell me.
Bear with me here, because this does not seem to be.
Okay.
What are we doing next? I got all of them up on IMDb.
Witchfinder General. I got it. It's finally coming through. It was taking its sweet ass time. From 1968, we've got the Witchfinder General, aka the Conqueror Worm, directed by Michael Reeves. A young soldier seeks to put an end to the evils caused by a vicious witch hunter when the latter terrorizes his fiancée and kills her uncle. And of course, this one stars Vincent Price.
Indeed.
Who steals the fucking show.
This is his favorite horror role.
Is it? Well, it should be, because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because most of the time he's doing like campy stuff. He's not campy in this movie one bit.
Oh, he kicks fucking ass.
Evil.
He's great.
Yeah.
As soon as he comes on the screen, everything changes in the movie. Like, I'm fine, I'm this and that. Movie's okay. Here's decent backstory. I know what's going on. Okay. I won't even get into the politics of it, because we all know it was a fucking horrible, terrible thing that took place in these times. It's disgusting that it was allowed and whatever, but I won't go down that road right now. But as soon as he's on the fucking screen, he's talking shit. You see him talking to what's his name, Stern, and he says, "Don't call me Matthew." And he goes, "I'm not one of your drinking buddies." He says, he's just talking shit to him all day. Then he wakes him up later and he's like, "Past noon, you unkept lout." He's such a shit talker. Oh, God.
No, I just watched this movie for the first time in January.
Me too.
Because it came out on Shudder. Did this whole thing. They came out with that documentary about folk horror, and then they released all these folk horror movies along with it on the Shudder service. And they kept on showing clips of Witchfinder General during that documentary. I was like, that's intriguing. I want to check that out. I really like that movie. I really like this movie. There's something about it. Perhaps the cat, settle down.
Oh,
Pickle liked it too.
Is that Pickle? It's Pickle's breakfast time, so I'm gonna have to take care of that sometime soon. But it's intriguing to me that this is based on a real life dude. There was a guy with the same name that went around England saying, "Hey, I'm the Witchfinder General. There's a witch and there's a witch and there's a witch. Now we need to test them." And he would torture the people and execute the people and charge the town for his services and then move on to the next place. And because there was a civil war going on, it took like a year and a half for the government to be like, "Wait, now what's this guy doing?" We didn't assign any Witchfinder General. What's he talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a real dude that did this, and that's terrifying.
Fuck.
Yeah, and nowadays we call him Mark Zuckerberg, because social media has become the new witch hunter. But all joking aside, enjoyable film. First time watch for me too, because I always saw that Conqueror Worm, didn't know what I was getting into. Never even knew Witchfinder General. I thought it was the one that you guys watched in 1970, the one that you mentioned earlier, Dave, and then realized, nope, that's a totally separate film. But then as I started watching it, I'm like, couldn't stop thinking, because we just did the 70s show last year about the comparisons to Mark of the Devil.
Yeah.
Just in the witch hunting and the accusing and the brutality, but that one definitely focused more on the torture element. No question. That was a focus point of Mark of the Devil and showing the horrors there. This did it. Just did to an extent, like when that woman went up like a tinderbox, like when they
that
lowered
was the best scene in the movie.
When they lowered her into the fire and she went up, my mouth dropped.
That was powerful.
I was like, oh my God. Yeah, it was. And yeah, you get pissed off because you're like,
Yes.
why are people just following this? Why are people just blanketly listening to this, not challenging anything? And it was crazy, but powerful performances. Yeah, no corniness whatsoever. Like straight, he's just evil.
But honestly, he's evil. But I'll tell you what, I think Stern is a bigger fucking asshole. I think if Stern would have been granted that position, he would have been even worse because he's a fucking, he's a masochist, or what is it, a sadist, whatever the fuck it is. He likes beating the shit out of people, and he's fucking straight up rapes this girl. You know what I mean? And he has no problem with doing any of this and then putting him to death. At least Witchfinder General brings, I know it's not, he brings a little class to his presentation, at least, where I think a guy like Stern would be even worse about it. Well, I know what he's doing is wrong, but he goes about it a different way. He's not just some fucking hillbilly that fell off a truck and fuck, okay, let's go kill witches. And he's a guy that sets out, he has a brain. He goes out, he's good. Like that scene when they're lowering them into the fucking water to see if sink or swim or that whole scene. Man, that's fucking powerful. You feel terrible watching it, but the guy has everybody, they listen to him. You know what I mean?
The thing about witch hunts is
it's like, oh, that person was innocent. He said. He even admits it.
Right. It's like that's the thing about witch hunts is that it's a lose-lose proposition for whoever's accused, because the only way you're proven innocent is by dying. It's like, oh, they were innocent. Oh well.
Oopsie.
Drowned or hung. That's what it comes down to. Would you rather be drowned or hung?
I'd rather be hung.
You know what I would do? I would go all the way down.
Probably crazy. Yeah.
I would try to go all the way down and act like I was.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. But I'm tongue.
Very hung. Yes. Shit. No, that wouldn't work though, because they have them on a rope. They pull them back up. I was gonna think I would try to swim away. I'd try to go all the way down and then just hold my breath and stay down there and just not come up and maybe try to trick everybody and just swim away as far as I can and then pop up somewhere else if they have ropes around. See, that's what I like about a movie like this. I don't have to question it. I answered my own question. Why not swim away? But because they're on the rope, they can't swim away. They have an answer, Well,
and the first time I watched this, I was really confused at the beginning. I was like, why are they showing me soldiers? What is going on here? Why does this matter? I don't understand. But eventually it ties in. And they do tell a complete story. So although it takes a little while for you to understand what it is, it does all mesh together eventually.
And the way this movie ends is unsettling.
Right.
Oh my God.
Love it.
Well, no, I mean, it's a horror movie ending. You don't get many of these, but just it's a freeze frame that kind of works, in a sense of and it goes right into credits. And I was just like, again, it just kind of left me feeling empty, there's resolution in a sense of one aspect of it, but not to their lives and everything else.
Right. It was the people who are affected by it have lost their mind essentially.
Yeah.
In a little bit different ways, but still, he's clearly not okay. She's clearly not okay.
It's great.
That's how the movie ends.
It's like the ending of Texas Chainsaw or the ending of fucking what do you call it? Argento. Damn it.
Eric, you'll know this one.
Fuck you, Christian. Now I really declare a feud.
Damn it!
When you're gone, Dave.
Tenebrae.
Exchange. Tenebrae. Yeah.
The ending of Tenebrae.
No, I was just while you weren't around, because I didn't want to make you mad. I admitted to Christian that I haven't really seen any Italian horror.
Well, that's okay. Start with Argento. Start with Dario. Go through his catalog, and then you can stop. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave's not a huge fan of Fulci or others. He really.
Like
I
them.
think you've. Yeah.
I like Bava. I like Fulci, certain ones, but I don't think anything they did matched what Argento did, and I don't this might sound fucked up, but the only giallos I really like are Argentos. All the other giallos I've watched, they're not bad. They're just okay. I just don't get the same feel I get from Fulci's or anybody's as I get from Argentos. I don't know. So that's just me though. But if you're just gonna watch Italian movies, just watch his whole catalog. Well, maybe not his whole catalog. Watch everything from his first movie up until Opera.
I'm not going to promise anything, but I'll let you know if it happens.
Yeah. Could be a little fun thing to do over the course of the year, like I'm doing with those slashers, just maybe here and there, pop one in, try to do it in order. Well, you'll know right away. If you watch Cat on Nine, watch, see, my fucking brain. Man, this sucks.
Four Flies in Grey Velvet?
Watch Plumage first. It's his first movie. Watch Bird with the Crystal Plumage. And if you like that, you'll know you're going to be okay with the rest of his giallos.
Okay, cool. I'll check that out.
It's very similar, But yeah, of course not for everybody, but. So.
Well, this is a movie. Yeah, sorry, Eric, you bring it back in for us.
I was trying. Yeah, there's an aspect to this movie in the rapiness that's kind of it almost bothers me more than the witch hunt.
Right, man.
Because like that woman, Sarah, beginning she's like, hey, I'll give it up if you let my uncle free. And he's like, okay, deal.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen. It's like, man, you son of a bitch.
Well, at first I didn't understand why it didn't happen because he was fine. When he left, he said, don't touch him. He tells fucking Stern and those guys, leave the priest alone. So I thought that he was actually going to do it. But then they have that one scene where that guy on a horse calls him over and says something to him. I think he says that she was raped by Stern. So in his mind, now she's soiled.
Right.
I want nothing else to do with her. So if she can't do anything for me, I'm not going to do anything. Granted, he's a son of a bitch. But now I know the reason why. Before it didn't make sense. I'm like, well, why would he do that? He seemed like he was halfway genuine because when he left, he said, don't touch him. He didn't say I promised her because she gave it up, but he said, leave him alone. Leave him to me. So I thought then he comes back and I'm like, why the change of heart? But this time I noticed that fucking asshole raped her in broad daylight. What a terrible time to be a female. That's all I can say. What a fucking watching it it really enrages me. This is the shit that enrages me. Not so much this day with politics and topics. When I look at this stuff that went on in that time, and stuff in the past, wow, we've certainly come a long way. Yeah. Granted, there's still cults, and I guess only 12% of America thinks that they could join a cult. I heard some survey on a radio show the other day. They said we surveyed all the listeners or something, and how many people think they're susceptible to cult. Only 12%, and they're like they said what I said.
That's bullshit. They're in cults.
Correct.
Well, I mean, we could get into a long argument about religion here and everything about or politics for that matter too. Exactly.
There's a lot of cultish going on.
Put it this way, it's a lot larger than 12%.
Yeah, I'd say good larger. 50. Yeah.
No, but it's from I don't know how to phrase this. I guess from a sociological standpoint, it's kind of horrifying and interesting that people do this kind of thing over and over and over, right? Because they'll have the person who's in charge saying, this other person is bad and must be punished, and everybody goes along with them. Sometimes it's cult, sometimes it's religion, sometimes it's the Witchfinder General. Just some dude who decided he was gonna do this. And what I gotta wonder about the guy is whether he believes it or not. Does he actually believe in witches? Or is he just having fun going around torturing people? Because it seems like the latter to me.
Yeah, they never really explore that per se, but you're right. It begs the question of what is this like? Are they believing in witches, or are they just, shit,
it seems evil? To me like the whole thing's just a scam they came up with.
I believe it is, and I think
they're rocks off torturing people, collect money, and moved on to the next town.
It's just a business for Witchfinder General. That's it. Now Stern, on the other hand, gets his jollies more from it, but it's all business for him. But I think that one scene later on kind of illustrates that it is the latter. Because they're speaking about what's his name? Richard, is that his name? The boyfriend, the soldier. Hold on, Richard. Yeah, Richard and Sarah. So they're speaking about Richard coming to seek revenge on them. It's when Stern tells him something, and then he says to him, he goes, "You forget our power." He goes, "He may be a witch."
Yeah.
It's all he said. You forget
That's
our
the
power.
point.
He may be a witch. In other words, well, if you come at us, all we got to say, he may be a witch. We can kill him, and we don't even need a good reason. You know what I mean? So,
You're right. Yeah.
which is fucking scary. But
Yes.
I mean, and here's the scary part. He's hired by other people. He doesn't just go to town and say, I think you have a witch here and there. The local government, like I guess the magistrates, whatever, I guess they would be like a mayor or something now, whatever. Whoever's there in the head calls him over because somebody is suspected of witchcraft. Because he gets there and they're already there. He goes, okay, well, we have 2 young ladies and 1 old lady. And that's who's there. So they gather around and they get this guy to come in and do it, which I don't know why they can't just do it themselves. I guess it makes it more official if somebody comes from the outside and they say they're it's their specialty. But here's the problem that bothers me in this movie and every movie where they have Witchfinder stuff going on. They even did it in Fear Street, which I quite enjoyed. They always say somebody's supposed to have a mark on them. Then they get there and they do things and I don't see the mark. You know, they say these different things and it's like, well, then why are you still putting them down? How can you get away with that? There should be something there.
I was actually reading about the real life dude, and apparently one of the ploys they would use is that by mark, one of the things it could be is just a spot on their body where you poke it and it doesn't bleed. That could be
That's where they kept a
mark.
Right.
So what they would do is they would take a dull knife and cut the person, and when they didn't bleed, they would be like, "It's a witch."
Okay.
But like they're really poking this, and then they're bleeding. Bleeding all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. That's fucked.
It is fucked up that this happened. How often did it happen? For how long did it go on? I don't know. I didn't research it, and I don't know what the records are going to tell us. But
I don't remember all the numbers, but I'm pretty sure he was just actively doing the Witchfinder thing for about 1.5 years.
Damn. And it's not just him.
Too.
Right? They were putting
Discovery
witches
of
down.
Witches.
Discovery of Witches? There's a show on that.
I know. That's where it came from.
Oh, wow.
I kind of want to bring this back as a side hustle.
Well,
going town
it does
to town.
happen now. There is still herd freaking the mentality and things like that happen in politics all the time, where they point at this one and say, "You are this," and everybody else. I mean, they don't put them to death, but they do other things.
QAnon's pretty much the same thing, right?
See,
they're eating babies in that pizzeria.
I'm gonna bring that and the bookmobile, and then I might combine the two together and bring them both back simultaneously and go town to town.
But
giving
you
books
can
to kids and killing witches.
It's so easy to get ostracized now,
Mm.
right? You could just say somebody did something on Twitter.
Yeah.
This person sexually assaulted this person and have no, you know what I mean? No proof
And people
of it.
don't care to check the validity.
That's what I was
Look
saying.
at
Like,
Deshaun
social
Watson.
media became the new thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Just
Deshaun
like
Watson.
Witchfinder thing. People don't care if it's true or not. They want to set somebody on fire.
Yeah, it's nuts. And it's usually for the reason of just, trying to fight against a political party, or in a cultish type manner. It's fucked up. So it still goes on. It's just not as obvious as this. And, people have found ways to manipulate over the years, and there's intelligent people that do evil things.
Yes, that's true.
Thank God most people that do evil things are not intelligent. That's why they get busted.
Right.
It's true. There's so many dumb criminals
I
out
know about.
there.
There's some serial killer out there who's killed 50 people, and we have no idea.
I think he's standing outside Taylor Swift's house right now.
Oh, that was priceless.
Oh, amazing.
I'm kidding.
Oh shit. Well, I'll tell you, at the end of the movie, before that axing scene is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
going to town on him. Oh,
yeah,
man.
it looked real. Like, I mean,
Yes.
nowadays there'd be way more blood and whatever, but it just is like, even they're looking at his brutality at that point, and then you took him from me. You took him from me, or whatever. Like, oh, fuck. Like, no one's, like we said earlier, no one is right at the end of that film.
Mm-hmm.
it just ends on such a downer note.
Yeah, every like they got the bad guy, but the damage is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite type endings, though. That's great, man.
No, exactly.
I really like this movie.
That's horror. You know, that's when a horror movie ends.
That's what Dave said.
That's horror.
Now that's horror.
That's it. That is it, man. Now that is horror. A movie ends like that. I mean, did you hear what I said about, what do you call it? Night House? Did you hear the last show, Eric? Did you listen to the last show we put out or not?
I did, but I don't remember what you said about the Night House.
Well, if the Night House would have ended in a suicide instead of the way it ended, I think it would be more fondly remembered for a longer time. It would have been infamous in that respect. Remember that movie? This happened. You know, I don't know. I think
You're probably
it was
right, but I enjoyed the ending it had because it had a certain significance.
Sure, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I was just saying.
Yeah, for me, the whole ending of the movie was a metaphor for depression. That's just how I see it.
I do too, but I mean, how much of a gut punch would it be if fucking
right
you don't overcome the depression?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Succumb to it. I mean, that's a fucking grim fucking ending. Like, oh man, because obviously
what, that woman in that movie, the blonde, she's the best friend in the fucking world. Yeah. Hauling ass down to the end of the dock and jumping into the lake to save her friend. I want her as my best friend.
Yeah. Fuck. Right on. We could use a friend like that. Yeah.
Oh.
Man. So yeah, is there much else for this one? I don't know. I
mean, I don't know how we've spoiled it a little bit, but I don't know how far we want to get into that. But yeah, the scene with the burning was fucking awesome.
Wow.
The end was awesome. Some of the soldier stuff at the beginning. On my first watch, I was just like, "Why are you wasting my time?" On second watch, I was like, "Oh, they're putting things in place. I get it." So yeah, it's solid movie for me.
Yep. Same. And this was my first time watch. But did you have anything else, Dave?
No, just no. I don't think I have anything else. I think Vincent Price is fucking great.
He is.
You hear tell too much, man. His fucking dialogue. It's just great. His delivery. He's oh man. He's half the fun of the movie. He's like maybe it's not supposed to be funny, but to me it makes me laugh. I chuckle. I'm like, oh, I fucking love the way he talks.
Now, there's a reason he's an icon.
Right, man. Yeah. I don't know how. I mean, he does this in Mask of the Red Death too. He's a son of a bitch in that one, and he talks shit in that. I gotta watch that again because I love him in roles like that, doing shit like that. That's great, man. Because the other one, I mean, we're about to get into the next one. Granted, you know, they're all winding down, and I see why they did it, but it's not that type of role for him at all. He's just icon Vincent Price. Come on in. You know what I mean? But yeah. So I don't know how what's your guys' rating on this?
I'll go 8 out of 10 on this one.
As will I.
We all came in at the same on this one, 8 out of 10.
Wow, how about that? Now awesome. The next movie, I don't have a rating yet because I'm gonna have a question about something that happens at the end, and if that can be made sense of or not, because if not, that's gonna affect the rating. But
all right.
Okay. Third and final movie.
Here we go. House of the Long Shadows, 1983, directed by Pete Walker, starring Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and here's the synopsis. Very simple. All three of these are very simple synopsis. I got very easy. Whenever I take over, which is very rare, I always get the short synopsis, which is great. Synopsi. Anyway, an American author finds a dilapidated.
Easy ones.
Brain fog. You too, huh?
Yeah, brain fog. Dilapidated Welsh manor, perfect for writing until the residents host a bizarre family reunion. Oh my God. See, I jinxed myself by saying, it was easy. And then I fucking stumble over it. Now, here's a perfect example of a movie I never even heard of, or if I did hear of it, confuse it with House of Usher or something like that, and never thought of it. And it's boggles my mind that it came out in 83 because it seems like it's stuck in like an early 70s movie. Right. If you told me this was 1973, I'd be like, yep, makes total sense.
It's got that aesthetic to it.
It looks it does not feel like an 80s movie at all. It seems exactly that aesthetic of the early 70s. No question.
I knew nothing about this going in, and when I was watching the opening credits, I was like, Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, holy shit! And then I swear to God, I saw on the screen what I saw was David Carradine. I was like, Kung Fu guys in this movie? What the hell? No, it was John Carradine, not David Carradine. I was flipping out for a minute. Because the whole movie I was like watching for David Carradine to show up, and then I was like, why he wasn't there? What's the in the end credits I saw John Carradine, not David Carradine, you idiot.
And I thought I was waiting for the Revenge of the Nerds guy to come up.
Speaking of, Robert, I was gonna say that. At least it wasn't him, because I've been. You know what I did last month? I watched for the first time ever. I watched the third and the fourth Nerds movie.
TV movies. Those are TV movies.
But I still enjoyed them. I still enjoyed them. I didn't think I was going to like them at all. I'm not saying they're great, but because I'm such a fan of the Nerds to begin with, and they kept bringing it was like they kept bringing the people back. Like Stan came back, Eddie was in both of them, Booger was in both of them. So they brought people back, and it wasn't bad. Like I would give them both like a 6 out of 10. They were fine.
For TV versions of it, you're right. At least the one thing they knew was to bring back characters that you'd actually care about, so that it actually linked the movies, possibly even more than 2, but at least 2 still had that theatrical hotel oral sex or whatever.
Hot oral sex. That's right. Hotel Coral Essex.
Essex, yeah.
But I like 2. I mean, it's no 1, but I grew up with 1 and 2. I watched them all the time.
We got Bush. They haven't aged well. In the age that we're in right now, none of this.
No.
Everybody's a creep. You watch an old teen movie, everybody's a fucking creep now.
Porky's put on a mask and have sex with this girl non-consensually.
Yeah.
Send someone else. Yeah, great idea.
And then she marries him. Well, the sex was great. At the end of the day, it just goes to show that no matter what you do, no matter what a guy does to some females, as long as you treat her right and make her world sexually, you could walk all over her. Because this is a sad truth with some people.
The world according to Dave.
No. There are people like this, and you know it. There are some women like that. That's what I'm saying. They stick with them. But again, they're much bigger bastards than fucking Louis Skolnick. I mean, Louis Skolnick did something sneaky, which was bad. But anyway, forget it.
That's my pie.
Shadows.
That's my pie. Are we reviewing Nerds or are we reviewing House of Long Shadows?
I would love to review Nerds 1 through 4. This is what I'm saying. I wish I could do a sideshow with that shit. Just because
that's what WotC's for.
Imagine that. Gonna do a deep dive in Revenge of the Nerds 3. Fucking Nerds and whatever the fuck. Oh, shit.
Well,
so anyway.
I love the easy setup there. This movie felt like been there, done that, even though I had never seen it before. Mm-hmm. I appreciate the caliber of actors they got. I can't believe I'd never heard of it. Was it enjoyable? Yes. Would I watch this again? Most likely not. But it's not because it was a bad movie. I enjoyed it. It just is like, been there, done that, great. And it was enjoyable for what it was. But it is kind of like a Clue-esque movie. It's kind of a one joke setup, punchline, and then once you get there, you're like, oh, I kind of suspected that all along, but that's what they went with. I was kind of hoping
I love
that there'd be another level.
See, I was on board with this movie. I was really enjoying it until the end. The end seriously knocked an entire point off my rating, because it's right up there with It Was All a Dream. It's just complete horse shit. And it was really
getting the makeup right. Like, come on. There's no way he could tumble down the stairs with that axe. And then all of a sudden, like what is he prepping the damn effect as he's rolling down stair 5? Like, by the end, he's okay at the top, and the axe is embedded in him at the bottom.
That's not even what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah, well, I know, but I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid spoilers for the time being, but the ending was seriously problematic for me personally. I loved the score for this movie. I thought the score was great.
It was great.
And it had its moments, and Man, Vincent Price has the best fucking entrance in this movie. There's this swelling score, and he steps out of the shadow into his close-up and says, "I have returned."
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, you have.
They have everybody gets a hero shot, it seems. And he's my favorite line in the movie where I laughed. I'm like, I want to say that.
I know what you're going to say.
Don't interrupt me while I'm soliloquying.
Please don't interrupt me while I'm soliloquizing.
Soliloquizing, that's it. Sorry, yeah.
Fucking classic. I gotta start saying that to people.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
Def on the podcast. Sure.
Yeah. I loved it. It was awesome.
It was awesome. I guess I feel different than you two, because for me, I was on board with the movie, but I was like kind of a one-trick pony for a while. I'm like, okay, and I'm thinking, do you really want to write this fucking novel or not? Anything that's happening downstairs is not that big a deal, right?
Right.
Once you find out that this girl is this, and these assholes keep coming, I'm like, fuck it. You guys do you. I'm going up into this fucking bedroom, and I'm getting my 20 G's. Leave me the fuck alone. So I'm like, maybe he doesn't want to make the money. So I'm watching this, and everyone's coming in, they're doing their things, and I'm okay. I thought it was a little bit tedious for a while there. And then for me, the reveal made the fucking film for me. I was like,
really?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it was fucking. There was another movie in 1986 with another title which fucking alludes to it, but I'm like, this was, this was before that one. I gave it props for doing that because it never entered my mind. Because at first with Catherine, that's one thing. I had a feeling that's what that was going to be, and I figured that out, and then it ended up being. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I think it was clever to do that, because then I think you kind of dismiss that, and all this other shit's like serious, and they have keys, and they're showing everything they're doing. And at the end, I can explain it, because they show them having private conversations, even when the guy says brother, and he reveals about the brother thing, and I'm like, and when the couple goes outside and she laughs at him being a husband, he goes, that's a laugh, and then he slugs her and that whole thing. I'm thinking, wow, when you look
back
at
that
it,
took me by surprise.
No shit.
When he just fucking punches her in the face, I was like, oh my god.
They introduce these characters an hour and 10 minutes into the movie. That's like almost like a script writing no-no, because there's secondary characters wedged in. It was weirdly bizarre that they were even introduced. But another mouth-dropping moment in watching all three of these movies was the reveal of when her face just starts peeling off.
That was
like
awesome.
The makeup effect was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Again, with the reveal kind of taken away from it all, but
see, I love that. I was like, wow, that just made it so much more interesting. I'm like, oh shit, because I didn't see it coming. I'm putting myself in the character's shoes, and I'm like, okay, this is happening, and I'm like, holy shit. And then, even better, I'll one-up it. The reason that he did that, the reason the bet was set up in the first place is that this guy wants something more from this guy, and he goes, this is the way I'm going to do it. And at the end of the day, he's going to see that I was right. And it all worked out. I thought that was my only issue, was the very last minute when I was going to ask you. I don't get that at all. But I mean,
it's a doppelganger. Like, it's a girl that looks exactly the same as the girl that he actually fell in love with. Well, it's just a girl that looks exactly. I thought that's what you were talking about. The last minute of the movie is him. Are you? It's not a doppelganger. It's
the same people, because fucking Vincent Price or the other guys in the room also. It's like the same group of actors is in the room doing another.
Then a different girl that looks exactly the same as the girl comes up. That's not the same girl.
Well, here's the deal, Christian. That girl is the one he saw at the restaurant at the beginning, and he just I guess I'm just going full spoilers here.
Okay.
Because at the end of the movie.
Okay.
At the end of the movie, what's revealed is that whole story that we just watched was the book that he wrote.
Yeah, okay.
And so while he was writing the book, he was picturing that girl in his head that he'd seen in the restaurant. And that's why at the end he's like, oh, your last name's this? And she's like, no, it's this. Because he made up the last name for the book, but it's not her real last name.
Wait a minute.
No, but she's also there saying she's married after the reveal, saying, oh, I'm married to that guy. That's not the book.
That's part of the book.
Oh, that was part of the book.
But
I
that's
thought that
not
was
his
the wrap-up
experience?
party. I thought that was the wrap-up party at just solidifying his experience.
We watched, including the wrap-up party with everybody revealing that they were playing parts,
That makes even more sense then.
book.
Because I was going to say,
the end of his book.
Eric, you just solved it because I was good. No, I'm actually thinking Eric just made the movie better because I'm with Dave. I'm like, when did this guy actually write the fucking book that he presented? That makes sense. So that whole thing was the book, and then he walks into the guy's office and gives him the script. It's like a little thin, and he's like, well, what do you expect? And then whatever. Now that makes sense. And then that girl walks in. That solves it. Actually brings up the movie for me a little bit more. So actually, funny enough.
Wow. Wait. Okay. So in actuality, your take is that he actually did go to this manor, and he wrote the book undisturbed, and none of the other events really happened.
Yes.
What the fuck? I didn't even at all.
That's actually a better movie.
Yeah, it does make it better.
I can't believe I didn't get that, though.
Because to me, that's right up there with it was all just a dream. It was all just this book he was writing. And I think it's a little bit of a cop-out, but, I mean, I was enjoying it up until the fact that nothing we watched actually happened. That bugs me.
So then with on Dave's side of things, I think I must have, maybe I drifted, or maybe it was near the end of the movie. So I assumed he went to write this book, kept getting distracted. Then it was all revealed to be this big hoax. So then he's like, I got to get fucking cracking. Crack. Right. And then he starts writing. And I'm he had no time to do that.
No,
like,
he shows up at the manor.
Perfect.
No. He shows up at the manor. He goes upstairs. He sits down and he writes the book. That's what happens in this movie.
And we see it.
So
and we
see it.
He uses those characters from the train station and from the restaurant at the beginning in his imagination just to picture something while he's writing the book. He writes the whole book, and then we have the restaurant scene at the end.
But how did he become such a... Wait a minute, though. See, this fucks it up for me now, because to me the moral of the story was like he sent all these people to the house, the guy that offered the bet, to illustrate to him, the importance of writing characters. So because he never could do it before. Now he's writing characters based on what he saw and what he experienced. It's the human element, which wasn't there before. So now you're saying that he just went to this manor, and because it was quiet, he was suddenly able to to be this great writer?
Yeah, because when he's on his way out, he moves the same fucking chair on the landing that he did on his way up.
What the hell?
Interesting. I can't even believe I missed this too. To be totally honest, like now that Eric is explaining, I'm like, yeah, that did all happen. And it's just funny because I guess when I was watching it, I did watch it in two chunks, and not that it's a long movie. It's not a long movie. It was just that I got distracted with family stuff, and I went back and I finished it. But still, now that makes way more sense, and I get it, and actually like it more. Even though you're right, it's all a dream style ending, but because it's all a dream, and they did it the way that they did it, I'm actually willing to forgive it a bit and give it a pass. Now Dave doesn't like it as much.
Now, because now at first I was on board, but now I can't come to terms with the fact that he magically became a great character writer because he told him to go to this place and write. That's what doesn't make any sense. Like, the moral of the story for me was the guy said, yeah, I put you in a position where you're dealing with real humans and real emotions and all this stuff's going on, and then you wrote about those very experiences. But now I can't just accept that. Oh, just magically he became a better author and was able to fucking just because he went there? See, that takes away from me now. Huh. Fuck. See, it's the weird thing. But then again, what an interesting movie now, because we're analyzing.
Because if I'm wrong about this, okay, where's the line between reality and the book?
But then why would he confuse the girl's name at the end if he created the character?
Because he was picturing her in his mind the whole time.
Okay, true. Okay, and that's fine. It's just a weird thing to say to somebody. Your name's not this? No, I'm quite sure it's not that. It's this. Okay, that's why I just assumed it was a girl that looked, and they just used the same actress, but
no,
looked
it's the same,
like the girl that. But whatever. But I mean, no, yours makes way more sense. But now I do want to watch it. I take back what I said earlier. I said I will watch this again because now I want to pay more attention to the beginning, because what I said was I guess I was taking it for granted. I'm like, okay, it's a simple premise of a bet to write a script, that he goes to the manor, and then we got introduced to all these characters. That was cool. But it makes more sense that there was never supposed to be these two people watching over the house. And
the way I interpreted the movie is that none of the other characters in the mansion ever existed. They were all part of his book.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man,
Other
that's
than
something.
existing in the past in 1935, from whatever was left over in the, because I'm assuming that it's drawn from experiences that he saw these characters in the house. You're thinking none of that existed?
Yeah.
Like the paintings and everything didn't even exist?
Right. That's all part of the story. Like he walks upstairs, he gets into the bedroom, he lights his candle and sits down and puts that first piece of paper in the typewriter. Everything from then till you see him type the final line of the book is the book.
Well, it makes sense that would make sense that he was able to write it in 24 hours then, and not keep constantly getting distracted and then still winning the bet. So I think that is exactly what happened. I think you interpret it correctly, and Dave and I are just idiots.
Well, no, you're not.
It was so clever.
They intentionally trying to wind you down this path of all this is happening, right?
Yeah. No, but I got it. It was all that was happening, that it was an act. Now that makes way more. Everything that I was arguing about the axe being the guy, the makeup effect not working is all moot now, because it doesn't even matter, because it's still just a story within a story. Right. So it could easily happen. Like you said, the cop of all, it's all a dream. Now it fits within the realm of plausible because it's part of the story. And he reveals it.
The other unbelievable part of this movie is that he rips up the check at the end of the movie.
Oh,
what
yes.
What shit is that?
For $20,000? I'd be crazy gluing that thing back together.
He pulls it off. He delivers the script and gets the check, and he's like, nah.
Yeah, that's the bad part of the movie. That knocks it down one whole point.
See, to me, it would have made sense though, because he learned how to become a good writer now. And he was like, I've learned something more valuable than money, because now I've learned a love for the craft, that I can write characters now, and I finally understand what he's talking about with modern writers.
Yeah, and I get the intent. I don't think anybody would rip up a check for $20,000.
No, I don't either. No, it's just movie shit. No, I get that, but I just but now I don't care about it as much, because now it didn't happen. Like, see, I would have loved the movie if it just ended that way and they didn't put that extra stuff at the end. He rips up the check and the fucking credits roll. Then I would say, very clever. I love that this happened. He sent them there. He taught them a lesson. He's a better writer for it. And we as the audience bought into it too. And that's what a good story ultimately does. So I was taking it from that perspective. So now that, son of a bitch. It's too bad, because I really thought it was clever.
And I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. It'll probably happen again. But that's how I interpreted it.
No, because the way you just said it, when he sits down and types the first words, that's where it begins. And then when you see him typing the end, that's where it ends. And that is exactly how it happened. Because right after he ended it, the next scene is him going to deliver the book.
Right.
So I'm like, it was even after the wrap-up party. If it would have been before the wrap-up party, different. But see, it's wow. Man.
Sorry, didn't mean to ruin it for you.
No, you didn't ruin it. That's what the movie is. But again, I had that question at the end, and that question has now been answered. I was like, wait, how does this make sense? Why would they send more actors out after him at this point? Why would Vincent Price be playing a butler and this girl be playing the same job with a different last name? That makes no sense. Now that does make sense. So
because they're all just people that he saw that he was picturing in his mind while he was writing the book.
Yeah, it's like that movie. I won't even spoil it. There's another movie like it that came out a couple years ago, an anthology, and that happened to them was people that was in his head for some other reasons, and they showed up in his delusions or stories, if you will.
Gotcha. Yep.
But something like that, like, okay, that works. But now I just can't get over the fact that he somehow, just because he went there, became a great character writer when he wasn't before. That's the part that doesn't mesh for me. And if I can't make sense of it, it hurts it. It can't be helped. But the movie is what it is. I would rather give the movie an honest, look at it and take it and say this is what the movie is, than give a movie a high rating when it's not deserving of it. Like, oh well, wait a minute. And it doesn't fuck it up that much, just a little bit. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it actually makes me interested to go back to see it again. Like I already said, I would have thought, okay, been there, done that. It was a fun little ride, done. But now I want to go back and I want to just watch the beginning, the setup, and pay closer attention to that, and then And then when the after party kind of kicks into play, to see the transition from after party to him receiving his check, I just want to focus on those two areas a little bit more so.
Well, and during the movie, like I was like with Dave, I was like, why the hell isn't this guy just shutting himself in the room and getting the book done?
Man.
You know, and then it all makes sense.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't understand the person that hung. Remember they went to the guy's room and then a hung body came down. Who was that supposed to be? I was questioning that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, you mean the old
hung person? Yeah, came down on a noose and they were dead.
Yeah.
I thought maybe the implication at first was the guy killed himself.
I thought so too, but then.
Who is that? Yeah. And then nobody cared when their father died. It was a complete no-sell. The father died and they just went on the next thing like nothing. Now, at the time, it made no sense. Now, with what you know at the end, at least what I thought I knew at the end, that they were actors, why would they do that? You know,
I did like the reveal of who Roderick was, though. That was fun.
Yes, that was the first reveal.
That was fun.
Like, oh, yes, brother. Yeah. And again, at first I was like, well, why would that conversation even be happening if it was a put on? But then I'm thinking, this is the script. You stick to it. You do it just on the off chance that the guy's in the next room or listening or something or anything. Which again, it's clever. I could find that. You know, I could use that as an answer. Wow. That's crazy. Wow, isn't that something? All we talked about was the but again, see that's what makes it an intriguing movie to me. It's like it's almost like a
well, in the book part of the story I enjoyed quite a bit. It was just the reveal that none of it actually happened that kind of irked me.
Well, again, you've got a perfect old school horror movie setting, an old house. Like the title suggests, and they make good use of it, and they've got great horror icon actors in it as well. So from that aspect of it, it delivers. It was just kind of, I guess I thought it was very pedestrian in the way it was done, and it still could be. But it's funny that I missed that. I took it more like how Dave saw it. And was hung up by so were you when we were talking, Dave, were you initially hung up of why did that exact same girl show up? And now he's like, do you believe in love at first sight?
Right.
And everything else? Yeah. Well, and I just took it was a girl that looked very similar, but now it makes sense that it is her, the vision of the girl from the beginning that we've just seen because he used her identity in the description of the character that he wanted to write. So it all makes sense. It just I just didn't catch it. Funny enough.
Pretty wild, man. Wow. And it predates April Fool's Day, which I respect that.
I did think about that movie.
You know? That's what I'm saying. April Fool's Day, people make a big deal about that. And I'm like, well, House of Long Shadows did it first. Not exactly the same way, but.
I'm not going to lie. Like I said when we opened this, I had never heard of this movie before or just assumed it was a House of Usher movie that I just hadn't seen or whatever. But I didn't, when I saw it was AD3, I was like, what? And then I'm like, how did I not know about this movie? But I didn't know about this movie. It wasn't one of the ones that I happened to catch on TV as a kid or anything else. Like Ram Man totally introduced this to me. Like I said, I didn't know.
When Dave sent me the movie list, I was like, okay, Witchfinder General. Oh, I already saw that one. House of Long Shadows. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I see why Ram Man did it. He was doing those three actors, and those guys are just having their roles in this movie. It's like they were only in half the movie. They probably got a nice paycheck, come in, and it's an advertising thing. Look at the stars of this movie. You know what I mean? Bring them in, and they come in, they do their stuff.
And it was a canon film too.
Yeah, Golden and Globus. Yeah, I saw that.
Well, and the thing is, no matter what the rest of the movie is, I will probably at least enjoy a little bit any movie with Christopher Lee or Vincent Price in it, because I just like listening to them talk.
Me too.
Like just listening to Christopher Lee talk is enjoyable for me, no matter what he's saying. Yeah. Just that resonant voice of his.
For sure, man. Yeah.
For sure.
Wow. Okay, so I guess if there's nothing else, I'm going to give it a 7.
I'm going 6.5.
All right. It's funny because I would have said a 7 as well, just because it was like out of the 3, it was my second favorite as well. So it just feels like it fits nicely in those other 2 ratings. So
yeah, without
definitely
for me, it would have been a 7, but
yeah. And it's on YouTube, everybody. If you want to check it out. Sorry, yeah. Without the it was all a dream ending, you would have given it a 7.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I had it at 7.5, and because I can't rationalize the one thing, I knocked it down. But it was funny. I had one problem, and that's why I didn't know where to rate it. And then that problem was solved, but the way that problem was solved ruined something else for me. Problem. So it just right. It just was, one just filled in for the other. So the rating went to where it was, back down to 7. That's funny.
Well, at least I feel like I contributed something to the show, so that's cool.
Of course you did. Yeah. You contributed a lot to the show. But that was big, man. Wow. Yeah.
I can't believe. Damn, I gotta go back. I gotta go check it out. Like I said, it's on YouTube. Everybody, if you want to watch it, it's there for you to watch for free. But
yeah, yes. But I'm definitely starting to use the line, "Please don't interrupt me while I'm soliloquizing."
Soliloquizing.
Amazing.
Queen is what I said, but soliloquizing is what he said. Yeah. And it was. I laughed because it is actually like listed as a comedy horror.
Is it really?
Okay. Yeah, but I would have it's very little comedy, but it's definitely the PG rating. Is suited. It's not like a gratuitous movie at all. There's those 2 shock gore scenes, but nothing crazy.
No, I actually texted that line to Dan because it's so his sense of humor. I was like, oh, he's gonna love this. I gotta tell him.
That's awesome. Oh well, I guess that's it. Thank you, Ram Man. You know, we wouldn't have seen this movie had it not been for that. So.
Indeed.
And I probably would. Yep. I might have got to the Mummy eventually, but because I am doing all those Hammer movies, I'm trying to catch up on them. But yeah,
Hammer time.
Exactly, again. Hammer time again, part 2. We did Hammer time 1, you know.
And thank you for joining us on such short notice and watching all 3 films on such short notice too.
It was my pleasure,
Eric.
Thank you.
I'm glad I finally got to chat with you guys. It's awesome.
Yep. Same here. Yeah, it's funny because just last show.
I'm sorry I didn't get to chat with B though. I was hoping to come on and have him be part of the conversation too. Hope he feels better soon.
Yeah.
And that's a no.
Yeah. We all.
Oh, I hope he feels better soon, but yeah, you're not going to get that chance.
The feud carries on.
The feud that Dave declared.
Yep. Carries on just for my amusement.
We always ask everybody to pimp their stuff. What pimp away?
Oh boy. Well, there's the Askancity podcast. That's a word I made up. It's spelled ASKANCITY. That I do with my buddy Dan. Then of course there's the Dark Discussions podcast, Cinema a la carte podcast, and my YouTube channel is Eric's Movie Corner. So you can check me out in any of those places.
Nice. Awesome. And Dark Discussions, all the podcasts are on the Dark Discussions feed, right? Yeah,
it's now a network. It started off with just the Dark Discussions podcast, and then when Horrorphilia shut down, Phil invited all the podcasts from that network onto the Dark Discussions network if they chose to join. And many of them have. So there's a whole variety of stuff to check out over there, including Jason Lloyd just came out of retirement.
Yep.
And did a podcast about the latest Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff to check out over there.
Awesome.
Right on. Okay, well that's gonna be it. Eric, thank you again. Short notice and everything, and you fucking came on here and killed it, and we had a great time. So
I did too.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course, we'll do it again. We'll definitely do it again. But we're gonna be out. Next show will be 171. We don't know what the hell we're doing. We're supposed to do our year thing, but whatever. Year of the year. We're supposed to get on the year of the year thing. You like the year of the year, Eric? And do you like the 200 idea? And then we'll let you go.
Year of the year is very interesting. I would love to come up with a list for the 200 myself, but I understand that's a lot of work for somebody.
That's easy. Everybody gives 100 to me, and I do the math. That's not a lot. It really isn't. You just got to write shit down.
I love lists, so I'm on board.
Too. I'm a list.
And we are doing that. We're making everybody do 100. Do you think there will be enough overage to get 200 films from that?
I do.
Dave? Okay.
Because everyone has different tastes. There's going to be, I definitely think there's enough for 2. You know?
Sounds good.
Plus, it's easier to ask people to come up with a list of 100 than 200. How many people can come up with 200? I don't think I could. So I'm like,
I could, but only because I have Letterboxd.
Right on, right.
I do have to add just a funny little side note. So, I've mentioned on the show, but Chris A.K. got texts every now and then. I guess he was listening to the last show. He's like, "Year of the year." Well, it's been great listening to the show. Happy trails, guys. The funniest part of that, I'm like, "Happy trails." That's the title of our movie. And he's like, "No, it isn't." I'm like, "Yeah, he didn't know that." I don't know if I mentioned it on the show before or not, but I guess I didn't. But it's just weird.
Well, you have now.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to say that.
Happy trails. And I just thought, like, maybe was he making a reference to it? I thought, because again, it was so random that I thought maybe he was making a joke, like, "Oh, Happy Trails," like whatever. But that's the name of the film, Happy Trails.
Yep.
Or the name of the script. We haven't made a movie yet. The name of the script is Happy Trails.
Correct.
Mm.
But still, that just shows that it's meant to be. That he said that and you thought that, and I was like, boom, there it is. It's on.
Weird. But that's it. But anyway, everybody, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll do the randomizer or whatever. You'll get it like all set up for whatever years we pick from, and we could just choose, right?
Yep. It's going to be 65 to 2014 because we began the show in 2015. So this is the 50 years that precede us as podcasters. So 1965 to 2014, and then we'll put the random thing. We'll put it in. We'll put 3 movies up, and you guys can vote on the top 2, and that's how we'll do it. So awesome. It'll be in the chat. It'll be in the book. It'll be in the Patreon. It'll be in the Facebook page to vote. So that'll be that. But yeah, we gotta go. Love you guys. Thank you again, Eric. Thank you again, and
thank you, Eric. Thank you, Pickle.
Love you all. Yes, thank you, Pickle. Of course, yes. And we'll see you guys next week or whenever. So that'll be that.